Hello, is this 911? I need to report an emergency. A Resident Evil dungeon just spawned on my wall. Hurry up and save me. Through the circular portal of light, you can see a dilapidated, rotting dining room inside. There's some kind of dried-up liquid residue on the floor. Outside the window, black rain washes over the ruins. A few zombies are staggering around in the rain. In the distance, the silhouette of some giant humanoid creature is looming. Close it. Close the door. Shut it right now. Following the intense fluctuation of my thoughts, the blue vortex on the wall suddenly shrank and vanished. I'm a freaking genius. With this kind of mind-blowing wealth, handing it over to the state is definitely the smartest choice. 10 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Are you the one who called the police? Yes, officer. Did you guys bring guns? Buddy, how much did you drink? Guns? Why don't you ask if we brought handcuffs while you're at it? Kid, you called the police, saying a Resident Evil portal appeared in your house and that there are zombies? I know it sounds crazy, but whatever you see in a second, do not move. Don't touch it, and don't get close, okay? When the two officers saw the portal and the ruined world behind it, they both couldn't help but gasp. Is this a holographic projection? Is 3D technology this advanced nowadays? This isn't special effects. Wait here. Saying that, I quickly ran into the kitchen. 10 seconds later, I walked out holding a live chicken. Watch closely. I threw the hen straight into the portal of light. The terrified hen had barely reached the dining room door when it let out an agonizing, blood-curdling shriek. Its feathers rapidly turned charred and withered, and it began to mutate. A dead silence filled the living room. Calling command center. This is Unit 9527, Haiban City, Xingfu Community, Building 4, Room 302. A major unknown incident has occurred. It's not a criminal case. It's not a fire. There's a door here leading to hell. Requesting SWAT backup. Requesting hazmat units. Requesting a total lockdown of the entire community. Hurry, this is a level 1 biohazard threat. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Above the once peaceful and quiet Xingfu community, fighter jets and helicopters are now patrolling back and forth. On the ground, police cars and armored vehicles have formed a massive perimeter. Inside the temporary command center, Lin Han, male, 24 years old, local to Hanning City, freelance designer. Parents passed away early. No criminal record or history of mental illness. Half an hour ago, you said a door opened on your wall, leading to a parallel world. We've already verified it. Our technicians just went in and conducted a preliminary drone survey. The air sample analysis results are out. Aside from containing a massive amount of unknown viral aerosols, the oxygen levels, gravity, and even the atmospheric pressure are completely identical to Earth's. That place is indeed another Earth. Then what about my apartment? Your apartment is now a level 1 classified national site. All the residents in the building have already signed non-disclosure agreements and been relocated. From now on, that place no longer belongs to you, or rather, it no longer belongs to the civilian, Lin Han. What about me? Am I going to be sliced up for research? On Chen Guofeng's serious face, a rare hint of a smile actually appeared. You're far more valuable than that. Just then, General Zhao, someone you'd only see on military news, walked in. Young comrade, you must have been terrified tonight. I'm all right. I've already been briefed on the situation. Can you control that door? Like opening, closing, or moving it? I can open and close it. I control it with my mind, but I can't move it. Also, I can feel that the size of the door seems to be connected to me, but I don't quite understand it yet. As long as you can open and close it, that's good enough. Young comrade, I am now officially asking you a question on behalf of the state. What this door means, you should be well aware. It is a crisis. If the virus from over there leaks over, it would be an apocalyptic disaster for us. But it is also an opportunity. A brand new parallel world possessing unknown technology and resources. A brand new parallel world. You hold the key to opening it. What do you plan to do? I fell silent. Even though when I called the police, I already had my answer ready. But actually facing these top-tier national leaders, the pressure was still a bit suffocating. Commander, I'm just an ordinary citizen. I don't understand grand philosophies, but I know that the things over there are way more than I can chew alone. So, I'm handing this door over to the state, but I have one condition. Name it. I want the absolute protection of the state. Not just protection from being eaten by the monsters over there, but also protection from being exploited by people with ulterior motives. I only trust the state. Comrade Lin Han, the state has received your trust. Immediately establish the Otherworld Strategic Special Operations Group, codename Spark. Comrade Lin Han is specially recruited, granted the rank of civilian major, and appointed as the special advisor for Project Spark. He will enjoy regimental-level benefits, and his immediate family will be placed on the level 1 security list. I stood outside the glass wall of the isolation room, watching 6 fully armed soldiers get into position in front of the portal. All units, attention. This is not a drill. Chen Guofeng's voice echoed through the comms channel. This is an exploration across time and space. Our primary objective is to confirm the safety of the environment. Secondary objective is to collect samples. Remember, safety first. If you encounter any uncontrollable danger, retreat immediately. I took a deep breath and raised my right hand. Even though I could control it with just my mind, I still made the gesture out of habit. Countdown, Chen Guofeng ordered. 3, 2, open the door. With a shift in my thoughts, the deep blue vortex on the wall rapidly expanded. A cold wind mixed with the stench of death blew out, but was instantly sucked away by the negative pressure system. Environmental monitoring team reporting readings. Radiation levels across the portal are slightly high, but within safe limits. Oxygen concentration matches Earth's. Viral aerosol reactions detected, but activity is extremely low. It does not possess airborne transmission capabilities. Confirmed. No risk of airborne infection. The team leader, Major Lei Long, stepped into the vortex first. It was like passing through a curtain of water. The next second, he was standing in the ruined room of the other world. Vanguard 1, do you copy? Checking.com signals. BZ's. Vanguard 1 copies. Signal strength is good. Clear to proceed. Copy that. Reporting in. Command. I have successfully arrived at the target area. Visually confirmed as an indoor environment. The building structure is severely damaged, but there's no immediate risk of collapse. On the large screen in the command center, Lei Long's first-person view appeared. Dust covered the floor, mold spots lined the corners, and there was a puddle of dried, blackened blood. The remaining 5 team members filed in and set up a perimeter. Captain, look at this. A team member near the rubble in the corner wiped away the thick dust, revealing a flattened metal street sign. Haishin City No. 3 Middle School. Beneath the sign was a tattered backpack. A few copies of 5 years Gaokao, 3 years mock fell out of it. Dead silence filled the command center. Chen Guofeng's voice was hoarse. Simplified Chinese. Haishin City Gaokao prep materials, coupled with the identical gravity and atmospheric composition. I don't think we need to doubt it anymore. This isn't some alien planet. It's not some demon realm. This is a parallel Earth. I looked at the screen, feeling a complex mix of emotions. Even though I had my suspicions, seeing the traces of a familiar civilization with my own eyes still hit me with a suffocating impact. Wait, we have a situation. Lei Long's voice suddenly grew urgent. There's movement outside. The feed switched to Lei Long's main point. He was aiming his rifle out the window. At the end of the street, a dark shadow was creeping along the corner of the wall. Like a humanoid cheetah, it suddenly stopped and stood up, looking up at the 3rd floor. It was a face with only eyes, and a mouth split all the way to its ears. Its inhuman hiss pierced the dead silence. All units, prepare for combat. Lei Long's voice was terrifyingly calm. Target locked. Weapons free. All units, target spotted. Target characteristics. The tactical analyst spoke at lightning speed. Moves on all 4s. Extremely fast. Skin is grayish-white with signs of severe decomposition. Preliminary assessment. Unknown zombie virus-infected host. Looks like a hairless monkey. I couldn't help but mutter, that's no monkey. Chen Guofeng pointed at the data on the screen. Based on the skeletal structure analysis, it used to be human. It just underwent severe mutation. And look at its nails. The image zoomed in. The monster's nails were about 10 centimeters long, gleaming with a metallic luster. Damn. The monster downstairs lost its patience. Its hind leg muscles suddenly tensed up. It's going to jump. I gasped. This is the 3rd floor. The dark shadow launched from the ground like an arrow from a bow, grabbed the security bars on the 2nd floor to propel itself, and lunged straight for the 3rd floor window. It's too fast. The analyst recorded the data, recommending threat level be upgraded to Class D. Facing the incoming monstrosity, Lei Long didn't even blink. The moment the monster jumped, he pulled the trigger. Bang. 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 A 3-round burst. The first bullet shattered the monster's right shoulder joint. The second drilled right through its forehead. The corpse flipped midair and slammed heavily onto the street below. Target eliminated. Lei Long reported calmly. Confirmed kill. The head is the weak point. The body is downstairs, awaiting orders. Good. Zhao Jiangwa slammed his hand on the table. Looks like these things aren't invincible after all. As long as the laws of physics still apply, our firearms will do the job. I also breathed a sigh of relief. My biggest fear was that the monsters would be bulletproof. Since bullets can kill them, things will be much easier. All teams. Attention. Chen Guofeng's voice carried a hint of excitement. Collect samples immediately. This is the freshest first-hand data. I need to know its muscle density, bone strength, and those black nails. What exactly are they made of? Vanguard 2, come downstairs with me to collect samples. The rest of you stay on the 3rd floor and maintain perimeter watch. Yes, sir. The 2 quickly descended, dragged the monster's corpse into the 1st floor lobby, and began sampling. Report. Command, the soldier in charge of sampling reported. Preliminary tests show the target's body contains highly active viral concentrations. Additionally, its bone density is 1.5 times that of a normal human, and its muscle fiber strength is twice that of an average person. As for the nails, the main components are a mixture of keratin and metallic elements. The hardness is close to steel. Metallic elements? Chen Guofeng paused for a moment. How did it ingest metal? It might have devoured some kind of metal-bearing mutated creature, or perhaps the virus itself can absorb metallic elements from the environment. Interesting. Chen Guofeng pushed up his glasses. If we can crack the mechanism behind this biological metallization, our body armor and tank plating materials might undergo a revolution. Good lord. They're already thinking about how to do research. I was completely dumbfounded listening to them. Is this how the national team thinks? Captain, we have a situation. Anomaly detected at 12 o'clock. The voice of the perimeter guard came through the comms. Lei Long darted to the window and saw the zombies at the end of the street. Attracted by the scream from earlier, they were swarming toward their location. 12 o'clock direction. Visual estimate of over 50 hostiles. Lei Long reported, they are approaching our position. requesting orders. Zhao Jiangguo waved his large hand. Probing phase is over. Now we need a solid bridgehead. Order the hazmat engineering detachment to move in immediately. Using the room with the portal as a base, establish Outpost 0. Tell the soldiers not to conserve ammo. In this world, truth only exists within firing range. All teams, weapons free. Lei Long's voice rang out. The commander said not to conserve ammo. Send them all to hell. Puff, 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 puffed. The rifle sticking out of the third-floor window wove a web of death. In less than a minute, all 50-plus zombies were turned into corpses. Targets eliminated. Excellent. Zhao Jiangguo issued his second command. Engineering Detachment 1, move in. Establish Outpost 0 immediately. Yes, sir. A group of soldiers in special hazmat suits charged through the portal. Their movements were so fast it was a blur. Airtight partitions deployed. Gap-filling operations commenced. Air circulation systems connected. Power transmission lines laid down. I felt like a mascot. I completely underestimated the true power of the infrastructure maniacs. Within 5 minutes, the dilapidated rooms. 4 walls were completely covered in silver-white alloy panels. Then, they used spray guns to apply polymer gel to the seams. Once this gel contacts the air, it solidifies within 10 seconds, forming a molecular-level seal. Chen Guofeng explained beside me. Forget about viral aerosols. Even nerve gas couldn't seep through. Next, the air purifiers. And air hoses were rapidly installed. The connectors use a magnetic quick-release design. That's an emergency disconnect mechanism, Chen Guofeng explained. If an uncontrollable crisis occurs, or if you need to emergency, close the portal. This connector can detach with a single button and automatically seal the pipe in 0.1 seconds. It won't leave any room for error. A chill ran down my spine hearing that. They really thought of everything. Report. Outpost Zero's core area airtightness test passed. Internal pressure has been adjusted to positive pressure mode. Report. Power grid integration successful. Otherworld voltage is stable. Report. Military broadband comms base station setup complete. Full signal strength. In less than 20 minutes, a sci-fi-esque, modernized, forward operating base was built. It's done already. I watched, completely dumbfounded. The basic infrastructure is complete. Zhao Jiangguo turned to me. Comrade Lin Han, get ready. We need you to head over there. Me too? You are the master of the door. His gaze was firm. We need to test. If you are physically in the other world, whether the door can still remain stable. Plus, there might be some things that only you can sense. That one-sided massacre earlier gave me a massive sense of security. All right, I'll go. 10 minutes later, I put on a custom lightweight hazmat suit and stood in front of the portal. My bedroom had already been turned into a temporary command center. Let's go. Zhao Jiangguo personally accompanied me, flanked by 4 armed guards. I nodded and stepped through the portal. The sensation under my feet changed from wooden floorboards to anti-slip steel plates. A faint smell of ozone lingered in the air. Welcome to Outpost 0. Commander. Lei Long saluted, then nodded at me. I looked around, and through the bulletproof glass observation window on the wall, I saw this apocalyptic world with my own eyes for the first time. The sky was leaden gray, and the streets were a total mess. Zombies lay scattered everywhere, their corpses soaking in pools of black blood. What's the status of the door? Chen Guofeng's voice came through the comms. Extremely stable, a technician replied. Preliminary tests show that, regardless of which side of the door Comrade Lin Han is on, the portal can maintain a stable, open state. Excellent. Zhao Jiangguo walked up to the observation window and pointed at a jewelry store on the distant street corner. The display cases reflected an alluring golden gleam. Is that a gold shop? My eyes instantly widened. Looks like our luck isn't bad. Zhao Jiangguo chuckled. We just got here and already stumbled upon hard currency. In this kind of world, gold is just scrap metal. He patted my shoulder. But on Earth, it's been the most resilient currency for the past century. With it, we can exchange for more steel, more microchips, and more food. Comrade Lin Han, are you ready to be a porter? Early the next morning, Outpost 0 was bustling with activity. Squad 1 is on perimeter defense. Squad 2 is on clearing operations. Squad 3 grabbed the sacks and entrenching tools. Lei Long was deploying the objectives. The jewelry store at the corner is 150 meters away. Threat level. I stood by the observation window, holding a cup of hot soy milk. Zhao Jiangguo issued a strict order. Until the surrounding area is cleared, I am not allowed to step half a foot outside the outpost. I strongly support that. Move out. A squad filed out one by one. The suppressed rifles fired in bursts, becoming the only sound in the early morning. Through Lei Long's camera feed, I felt like I was right there with them. 5 minutes later, they arrived at the gold shop. Area secure. Lei Long led the team inside. No zombies. Safe. Deploy tactical lights. The spotlights clicked on, and the store instantly lit up with dazzling gold. Holy crap. Looking at the screen, I couldn't help but swear. Gold necklaces, gold bracelets, gold rings, scattered across the counters and floor like trash. Lei Long picked up a gold bar, wiped it on his clothes, and held it up to the camera. Advisor Lin, how's the quality on this one? On Earth, the current price of gold is over 600 a gram. This single bar is worth 60,000 bucks, I muttered to myself. But here, It's not even as valuable as a pack of instant noodles. That's only natural. Chen Guofeng's voice came through. The value of gold lies in the social consensus of it being a universal equivalent. When social order collapses, that consensus vanishes with it. In this world, the only hard currency is survival resources. Water, food, medicine, and weapons. But on our side, Chen Guofeng paused. It is still the lifeblood of industry, foreign exchange reserves, and the hard currency needed to buy advanced tech and strategic materials. Stop standing around. Lei Long pocketed the gold bar. Get to work. The next scene completely blew my mind. A soldier smashed the display glass with his rifle butt, and then another swung an entrenching tool, shoveling the gold and silver jewelry, along with the velvet display cloths, just like shoveling sand. Shovel the trays right into the military woven bags. There's a safe over here. Blow it open. Lei Long said calmly. Yes, sir. With a deafening boom, the heavy anti-theft door was blown to pieces. Inside were dozens of 1-kilogram gold bricks, along with a massive pile of cash that looked like scrap paper. Lei Long picked up a 1,000 credit bill. It had a space elevator printed on it, along with a borderless map of East Asia. It read, Central Bank of the East Asian Union, Space Elevator Regional Unified Currency. A storm of shock surged in my heart. This was a highly technologically advanced world, one that might have even entered the interstellar age, but it was still destroyed. The soldiers stacked the gold bricks into the transport crates like ordinary masonry. As for the useless cash and chip-embedded electronics, Lei Long ordered them to take it all. Report, Captain. Inventory is complete. A soldier reported half an hour later. Preliminary estimates put the total weight of the gold at about 52 kilograms. There's also 15 kilograms of platinum and 52 kilograms of diamonds, jade, and other jewelry. Over 30 million. And this was just a small jewelry store. I felt like I couldn't even breathe. How is this a wasteland? It's a literal treasure trove. Move out. The soldiers hoisted the bags and crates full of gold, heading back as easily as if they were carrying sacks of potatoes. 20 minutes later, I finally touched that heavy gold brick. It felt completely surreal. Zhao Jianguo looked at the loot and smiled in satisfaction. With this startup capital, our upcoming procurement plans can really go all out. He looked at me. Comrade Lin Han, you've done a great service. That's another merit on your record. It's nothing, Commander. I put down the gold bar. Compared to this, I'm much more interested in what Captain Lei Long just transmitted back. I pointed at the distant CBD area outside the window. If we can find the bank vaults over there, or the servers of those tech companies. My eyes sharpened. Now that is the real treasure. Zhao Jianguo nodded in approval. No rush. We take it one step at a time. Zhao Jianguo turned to Lei Long. What's the status of the drone recon? Report. A technician switched the screen. The hummingbird drone just picked up a unique heat signature in the unfinished building complex. 2 kilometers from here, a red dot stood out glaringly on the screen. A heat signature. I leaned in closer. It's not just a heat signature. The technician zoomed in on the feed. Based on spectral analysis, this is a sunlight signal reflected by a mirror. It's highly rhythmic, like Morse code. Morse code? Zhao Jianguo narrowed his eyes. It translates to SOS. The technician replied. It's repeating. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. The command room instantly fell silent. A survivor. Chen Guofeng pushed up his glasses, his tone certain. Zhao Jianguo stayed silent for a moment, then decisively ordered, Make contact. We need a local guide. Contact plan formulated. Chen Guofeng said in front of the tactical map. The target is located in the unfinished building zone, 2.1 kilometers from Outpost 0. Based on the heat signature analysis, there is only one survivor. One person? I was a bit surprised. In a hellhole like that, how did one person survive alone? That's exactly what we need to find out. Zhao Jianguo said deeply. Anyone who can survive alone in the apocalypse is no simple character. We need their survival experience, and more importantly, their knowledge of this world. Operation Code, Pathfinder, Execution Unit, Special Ops Brigade, 1st Recon Squad. Equipped with Hummingbird Drone Swarm. Lei Long stood at attention and saluted, guaranteed to complete the mission. Once again, I could only be a spectator for this operation. What if they're hostile? I couldn't help but ask. Courtesy first, force second. Zhao Jianguo said calmly. We're coming with good intentions, but if they reject our goodwill, we have more than enough firepower to help them calm down. In the afternoon, 2 Hummingbird drones took off first. Lei Long and 4 recon scouts followed closely behind, using the shadows of the buildings to advance swiftly and silently. Stay alert. Lei Long's voice came through the comms. Traces of a tyrant spotted 300 meters ahead. On the screen, I saw a monster perched on top of a bus. 10 minutes later, we arrived at the unfinished building zone. Target is on the top floor of Building 3. Lei Long reported. The drone feed showed a frail woman, holding a cracked makeup mirror, adjusting its angle toward the sun. She was wearing filthy overalls. At her feet sat a makeshift water filter, and next to it, a broken bowl held only a shallow layer of murky liquid. She was clearly at the end of her rope. She's using a mirror to signal. Such an old-school way to call for help. Looks like comms equipment has been down for a long time. It means she hasn't given up hope yet. Chen Guofeng analyzed calmly. A will to live is good. Desire is the foundation of any trade. So tragic. I muttered, staring at that bowl of murky water. That desperate, humble struggle for survival deeply stung me. Commander, do we initiate contact? The spotter asked. Zhao Jianguo nodded. Execute Plan A. Airdrop supplies. Establish initial trust. Understood. The drone slowly descended. The woman on the roof instantly went on high alert. She grabbed a sharpened piece of rebar and shrank behind a concrete pillar, staring dead at the drone. Don't be afraid. From the drone's speaker came a gentle, synthesized voice. We mean you no harm. The woman didn't say a word, only tightening her grip on the rebar. With a soft thud, the drone dropped a transparent sealed bag, landing perfectly right in front of her. Inside was a block of compressed biscuits, a box of amoxicillin, and a 550 milliliters bottle of mineral water. In that bleak, gray world, that bottle of water looked like a diamond. Gulp. I clearly saw her swallow hard. It was an instinct that overpowered all reason. But this is just a greeting gift. The drone's voice sounded again. If you're willing to talk, we need some intel in exchange. We can provide more food and water like this. The woman stared fixedly at the water, her eyes struggling for a moment, before she finally, cautiously, grabbed the package. She tore open the wrapping, twisted off the cap, tilted her head back, and took just a tiny sip. She closed her eyes, savoring it. 2 streams of clear tears rolled down her dirt-streaked cheeks. Contact successful. Lei Long's voice rang out on the channel. The fish took the bait. Watching this scene, I felt a complex mix of emotions. A single bottle of water was enough to break her defenses. To a drowning person, a single straw is the whole world. Zhao Jianguo looked at the screen, his gaze profound, and we hold the entire arc in our hands. As the sweet liquid slid down her throat, the woman named Su Wan quickly calmed down. As a former virologist, rationality was her instinct. She clutched the remaining water and looked up, her eyes returning to scrutiny and assessment. The other party had drones, purified water, and medicine. There was only the one conclusion. This was a powerful faction, with a complete industrial production line. What do you want? Su Wan's voice was hoarse but clear. I don't have any supplies. I only have this life and what's in my head. We want intel. The voice from the drone remained gentle. About this city, about the zombies, about the current distribution of factions. The more detailed, the better. Fine. Su Wan took a deep breath, pulling out a folded map. It was marked with different colored pens. This is the information I've gathered over the last 3 months. She unfolded the map toward the camera. The red zones are heavily infected areas. Whatever you do, don't go there. There are tyrants and even spitters roaming around. The blue zones are safe houses and supply points, but most have already been scavenged clean. The black crosses are territories controlled by the Black Steel Syndicate. They've occupied the industrial park in the north of the city. They have heavy weapons and are extremely xenophobic. They capture survivors to use as slaves, or even for experiments. This girl is a natural at intelligence gathering. Chen Guofeng immediately ordered the technician to take screenshots. Import this data into the tactical map. What else? I pressed through the microphone. Besides this, is there any other special information? Like, anything strange? Su Wan thought for a moment, a flash of disgust and fear crossing her eyes. Lately, the Black Steel Syndicate has been frantically collecting zombie heads. Heads? I was taken aback. More accurately, what's inside the heads? Su Wan explained. I once saw from a distance that after their hunting squads killed mutated zombies, they would cut open the back of the zombie's skull and extract something that looked like a crystal. The word crystal struck me like lightning. I instinctively looked at Zhao Jianguo and Chen Guofeng. Chen Guofeng lunged at the microphone, asking rapidly, what color was that crystal? How big? Did it glow? Su Wan answered, most of them are grayish-white, only about the size of a fingernail. But I've seen them sacrifice an entire squad just to fight over a single red crystal. They didn't hesitate to lose a whole team for it. Crystal cores. Chen Guofeng took a deep breath, his voice trembling with excitement. Commander, if I'm not mistaken, this might be a completely new high-energy substance. Ask her if she knows its exact use. Zhao Jianguo said deeply. I know a little. Su Wan said, I heard the Black Steel people call it the blood of God. They believe this thing can grant people power, but the side effects are extreme. Direct consumption leads to death or mutation. Grant people power? My heart started pounding wildly. If the two-way portal wants to upgrade, it definitely needs some kind of special energy. Could this be it? Comrade Lin Han, Zhao Jianguo suddenly spoke up. It seems we need to have a much deeper interaction with this survivor. He looked at the woman on the screen, a flash of appreciation in his eyes. Bring her back. Zhao Jianguo ordered. We need her. Your intel is very valuable. The voice from the drone came again. In return, we can offer you sanctuary. If you're willing, we can take you to a safe place. There's clean water there, hot food, no zombies, and no Black Steel Syndicate. Su Wan froze. In this hell, does a place like that really still exist? When she looked down at the mineral water in her hands, she couldn't bring herself to refuse. Su Wan bit her lip, her voice trembling. I'm willing. Good. The drone slowly pulled up. Stay where you are. Don't move. Our extraction team is right downstairs. Also, one more question. The voice suddenly asked. What did you do for a living? Su Wan hesitated for a moment, then straightened her back, exuding a unique aura. My name is Su Wan, director of the 3rd Laboratory at Haishan Biotech Research Institute. The C virus is what we discovered there. When Su Wan revealed this identity, the command center fell into a brief dead silence. We didn't just pick up a survivor. We found a living repository of knowledge. Escort her back to the outpost immediately. Zhao Jianguo made a prompt decision. Elevate security to the absolute highest level. Lei Long, if you encounter any resistance, you are authorized to use all necessary means. Understood. 15 minutes later, Su-won was brought into Outpost Zero. When she stepped through the airlock and saw that sci-fi-esque silver-white space, she completely froze. This wasn't a survivor camp. It looked more like a pre-apocalypse national-level laboratory. Welcome, Dr. Su. I smiled and reached out my hand to her. I'm Lin Han. I introduced myself. You can think of this place as a special operations base. I'm Su-won, she said softly, but her eyes couldn't help drifting toward the plate on the table, a steaming portion of self-heating rice. Hungry? I pushed the food in front of her. Eat first. We can talk after you're full. Su-won practically lunged at it, shoveling large mouthfuls of rice into her mouth. The scalding rice made her tears stream down, but she swallowed it down forcefully, mixed with her tears. Watching this, my heart ached a little. 10 minutes later, she had wiped the plate clean. Thank you. Her eyes became clear again, even carrying a hint of sharpness. Now we can talk about our deal. No rush. Chen Guofeng walked over, holding a sealed bag. Inside was a grayish-white crystal. It was the exact one Lei Long had, dug out of the tyrant's head earlier. Dr. Su, is this the crystal core you mentioned earlier? Su-won took one look, her pupils shrinking slightly. Yes. This is the lowest grade of crystal core. It usually appears in level 1 mutants. What exactly is it? Chen Guofeng stared at her intently. We call it a high-energy biological polymer. Su-won slipped into professional mode. The C-virus restructures a biological organism's energy metabolism system, concentrating energy in the brain to form this kind of crystal. In layman's terms, it's the mutant's battery. A battery? My heart skipped a beat. Exactly. Su-won continued. The people from the Black Steel Syndicate discovered that directly consuming these crystal cores has a very small chance of granting enhancement, but the mortality rate is as high as 99%. Energy. My attention was entirely focused on that word. I instinctively reached out my hand and touched the crystal core through the sealed bag. The moment my fingertip made contact, buzz. A sudden sound echoed in my mind. Immediately after, a clean, transparent stream of information appeared on my retinas. Absorbable energy detected. Tier 1 biological crystal core. Energy purity, 12%. Contains massive impurities, equivalent to 1.2. Energy points. Absorb. Current two-way portal level, 0. Upgrade progress, 0%. Upgrade effects. Expand spatial portal to 5x5 meters. Unlock material transport channel. Allow large vehicles to pass. I was stunned. Then, wild ecstasy surged in my heart. I knew it. This is the key to upgrading. The whole point of handing this over to the state was to use the nation's power to hunt mutated creatures, harvest crystal cores, and upgrade the portal. A perfect closed loop. Comrade Lin Han. What's wrong? Chen Guofeng noticed my strange reaction. I snapped back to reality, suppressing my excitement, realizing this wasn't the place to talk. Commander, I have an important situation to report. I gestured to Zhao Jianguo, pointing to the encrypted comms room next door. It's about the use of this crystal core. The airlock door closed. Speak. Zhao Jianguo looked at me. Commander, I know what this thing is used for. I took a deep breath. It can charge the portal. Charge it. Right. I pointed in the direction of the portal. The moment I touched it just now, I received feedback. This thing can provide the energy needed to upgrade the two-way portal. As long as we have enough of them, I can expand the portal, even make it big enough to drive a tank through. That single sentence made the entire command center instantly boil over. How many do you need? Zhao Jianguo asked directly. If it's this kind of low-grade crystal core, probably about 100 grams, I estimated. 100 grams? Zhao Jianguo turned to look at the tactical map, his gaze landing on a red-marked zombie nest. Gathering point. His eyes became incredibly sharp. Lei Long. Here. Notify the entire Special Ops Brigade to assemble. Zhao Jianguo pointed at the red dot on the map, his tone grim. Surround this area for me. Since these monsters have the energy we need inside them, then they are no longer a threat. They are walking ore veins. From this moment on, we start mining. After issuing the mining order, Zhao Jianguo's gaze fell back onto the live feed of Su-won on the screen. Since Dr. Su's identity has been confirmed, I suggest we immediately transfer her to the P4 lab, Chen Guofeng said. No. Zhao Jianguo flatly refused. Until we completely rule out the viruses, incubation period, and mutation risks, she absolutely cannot cross that portal. Behind us are 1.4 billion citizens. We cannot afford to take this risk. He turned and ordered the engineering company to speed up. Finish the full building lockdown of Outpost Zero as soon as possible. In room 301, right next to the portal, set up a fully enclosed medical isolation cabin. Since she can't come over for now, we'll bring civilization to her. After a full day of sweeping by the Special Ops Brigade, Building 4 and its surroundings had been cleared out. Engineers were sealing all the windows with thick steel plates. My voice came through the loudspeaker. Dr. Su, I'm sure you figured it out by now. We come from another world. For epidemic safety reasons, we can't invite you through the portal just yet. But in the room 301 medical cabin next door, you are absolutely safe. Su-won smiled bitterly. She knew she was a potential source of infection. I understand. Su-won took a deep breath. As long as you can give me a sip of clean water, anywhere's fine. When she walked into the Outpost Zero medical cabin converted from room 301, she was still shocked by how professional it was. A silver-white negative pressure isolation tent, with all sorts of brand new medical equipment flashing indicator lights, ECG monitors, blood gas analyzers, a spiral CT scanner. Her fingers brushed over the machine's casing. Although they looked a bit bulky, they were brand new and maintained flawlessly. Two female military medics guided her into the shower room. Warm, purified water cascaded down. Su-won stood stiffly under the shower head, as if trying to wash away all the grime left by 12 years of the apocalypse. Decontamination complete. Changed into a brand new hospital gown, Su-won lay on the soft medical bed. Just then, the pass-through window of the isolation cabin opened. I stood outside the window in a lightweight hazmat suit, holding a food tray. Dr. Su, General Zhao, specifically instructed that since your stomach hasn't had rich food in so long, you shouldn't eat too heavily for your first meal. This is a specially prepared, nutritious meal. I smiled through the glass. I brought it over personally. Consider it a greeting from a fellow countryman. Cover was lifted. It was a bowl of millet porridge, a plate of seasonal vegetables, 2 hard-boiled eggs, and a small bowl of bright, braised pork belly. Su-won stared dead at that bowl of meat. Across 12 years of time, that familiar aroma of meat hit her like a sledgehammer, right in the chest. This is... for me? Su-won's voice trembled violently. Eat up. There's plenty more, I said gently. Su-won tremblingly picked up the spoon, scooped up a piece of meat, and put it in her mouth. In that instant, the string that had been pulled taut inside her finally snapped. She covered her mouth, her suppressed whimpers turning into loud, gut-wrenching sobs. She cried while desperately stuffing food into her mouth. Tears fell into the porridge and were swallowed down with the braised pork. She was just an ordinary girl who had struggled in hell for 12 years, finally tasting the warmth of the human world again. I stood quietly outside the window, silently passing her a pack of tissues. After a long time, Su-won finished all the food. When she wiped her tears and looked up again, the vulnerability in her eyes had vanished, replaced by an unprecedented determination. Mr. Lin Han. Su-won looked at me, her voice hoarse but resolute. I know what you're worried about. I'm a virologist. I know the terror of this virus better than you do. I will stay here and cooperate with all your research. I will give you everything in my head about this world. It's all yours. She glanced toward the wall, as if she could see the portal of light next door. I only have one request. If one day it's confirmed that I'm no longer a danger, please let me go over there and see the sun. Inside the command vehicle, Zhao Jiangguo watched the monitor, silent for a long time. Tell her that day will come. He issued an order. Engineering company, 24-hour shifts. Complete the overall airtight modification of Building 4 within 3 days. I want our soldiers in this building to be able to take off their gas masks and breathe. The construction of Outpost 0 was in full swing. Inside Medical Cabin 301, a cross-world scientific dialogue officially began. This is all the data we've collected so far on what you call the G virus. Chen Guofeng's voice came through the communicator. Su-won looked at the data on the screen and frowned slightly. This data is too superficial. The Z virus is more like a nanoscale biomechanical entity. Biomechanical entity? Chen Guofeng frowned deeply. That's its disguise, Su-won explained. It not only rewrites DNA, but also reconstructs the host's energy metabolism system. That's why zombies can survive without eating, and high-level mutants can release energy attacks, because they all have crystal cores in their bodies. Hearing crystal core, my spirit lifted. I was holding the very crystal dug out from the tyrant's head. Dr. Su, since you're a virus expert, you should know the exact composition of this thing, right? I asked. I only know a part of it. Su-won looked grave. That one is a level 1 crystal core. It has a lot of impurities. Its main component is an unknown biological piezoelectric ceramic. What use is this thing to us? I pressed. Su-won was silent for a moment, seemingly hesitating. In my world, some people try to strengthen themselves by injecting crystal core extract, but my father always opposed it because the mortality rate is extremely high. Even if you survive, you face a very high risk of mutation. This thing is dangerous. Very dangerous. I smiled. Relax. We're not going to use its biological enhancement function. We're using its physical properties. Saying that, I picked up the sealed bag and walked to the giant floor-to-ceiling bulletproof glass. Opposite the glass was the faint blue dual-world portal. Dr. Su, since you don't know its energy magnitude either, let's test it out. What are you going to do? Su-won was a bit puzzled. I didn't answer. Taking a deep breath, I pressed my hand against the glass, my eyes fixed on the crystal core in my hand. System, absorb, I muttered in my heart. The next second, Su-won was surprised to find that the grayish-white crystal core in my hand actually started to glow. Wisps of pale blue light spilled from the crystal core, penetrating the sealed bag and bulletproof glass, drilling straight into the dual-world portal. The portal's vortex suddenly accelerated its rotation. A low hum echoed through the entire floor. The halo instantly expanded. What principle is this? Su-won's eyes widened, looking at the scene in disbelief. It was eaten by that door. I let go. Inside the sealed bag, only a small pinch of grayish-white powder remained. At the same time, the long-awaited surprise popped up in my mind. Successfully absorbed level 1 biological crystal core X1. Gained energy points, 12. Current upgrade progress, 12 over 100. Just as I thought, I clenched my fist, an uncontrollable smile rising on my lips. Dr. Su. I turned around, looking at the dumbfounded Su-won. This is the true use of this thing for us. It's not poison. It's a key. A key. Su-won muttered to herself. Exactly. I pointed at the portal. This door is hungry, and these crystal cores are its food. As long as we feed it, it can become bigger, stronger, and more stable. At this moment, whether it was Chen Gufeng on the screen or Zhao Jianguo in the command vehicle, they were all deeply shocked by this scene. Crystal core equals energy. Zombies equal mobile mineral deposits. Once this equation is established, the entire strategic situation instantly reverses. Zombies used to be a nightmare in my eyes, but now they've become some kind of precious resource. Zhao Jianguo's voice came from the communicator. Comrade Lin Han, are you sure you only need 100 grams of this level, 1 crystal core, to complete the first stage of the upgrade? Positive. I looked at the progress bar in my mind, and I have a feeling that the upgraded dual-world portal will definitely give us a huge surprise. Good. Zhao Jianguo slammed the table. Pass down my orders. The entire Special Operations Brigade is to enter Level 1 Combat Readiness. Engineering Company, clear an armored passage leading to the portal immediately. Since the zombies over there have the energy we need in their heads, let's go dig them out. In the medical cabin of the other world, Su-won was watching all this. The people in her world saw zombies as the Grim Reaper, but we treated them as resources. Is this the generational gap of civilizations? She muttered to herself. I could feel that she believed our intervention would completely change the fate of her wasteland. Not salvation, but conquest. Level 1 Combat Readiness. Level 1 Combat Readiness. Sirens blared across both worlds. Squads of soldiers rushed out of the portal, quickly forming defensive formations on the street. Attention, this is not a drill. Everyone check the airtightness of your gas mask. Turn on the IFF system. Heavy weapons teams, get in position. Lei Long stood on the rooftop holding binoculars, his gaze cold. Behind him, 2 heavy machine guns were already set up, their muzzles aimed at the end of the street. Reporting to command, the decoy team is in position. Commence operation. Zhao Jianguo's voice was steady and powerful. 500 meters away from the outpost, 2 drones hovered in the air, carrying loudspeakers underneath. BZE. In this wasteland world, a song that had been extinct for 12 years suddenly blasted out. You are my love, at the foot of the rolling green hills. The loud music instantly shattered the silence of the apocalypse. The zombies hiding everywhere were like a poked hornet's nest, instantly boiling over. Amidst countless roars, a dense mass of figures converged into a tide, chasing the 2 drones. The prey took the bait. The recon company commander controlled the drones, leading the zombie tide. All units attention. Targets entering firing range. Distance, 500 meters, 300 meters. 100 meters. Lei Long looked at the surging zombie tide below. The number was at least over 500. Among them, there were also a few extremely fast tyrants. But today, they were facing a modernized army. Fire. With a single command, rat-tat-tat-tat-tat, the heavy machine guns on the roof roared first. The 12.7 millimeters bullets instantly tore the zombies at the very front into pieces of flesh and bone. Immediately after, dozens of automatic rifles also opened fire simultaneously. A crossfire network covered the entire street. This wasn't a battle. This was an industrialized slaughter. Those zombies were as fragile as paper, falling in droves before they could even reach the defense line. Tyrants spotted in Sector 3. Requesting sniper support. Cut instinct. On the rooftop, a sniper calmly pulled the trigger. Su-won had confirmed that this mutant called a tyrant had thick skin and tough flesh. Ordinary rifle bullets had a hard time killing it in one shot. Bang! A tyrant attempting to leap forward had its head blown apart like a watermelon. In less than 10 minutes, the gunfire gradually thinned out. The street returned to dead silence, leaving only a ground full of mangled corpses and a strong stench of rot. It's over just like that? Su-won watched the battle through the monitor, dumbfounded. She had seen despair-inducing zombie tides, but in front of these soldiers, they were actually this vulnerable. This is the power of firepower. I walked up to her with a hint of pride. Dr. Su, welcome to the world of truth within the range of our cannons. Clean up the battlefield. Lei Long's voice rang out again. Engineering Company, move up. Chemical Defense Company, provide cover. We must dig them out before the crystal core energy dissipates. Dozens of soldiers in hazmat suits endured the stench, quickly cracking open the zombie skulls to find the crystals. Report, found a level 1 crystal core. Got one here too, Captain. Dug out a red one. Looks like a level 2 crystal core. Good news kept coming through the walkie-talkie. I stood in front of the portal, watching bags of blood-stained crystal cores being sent back. The system notification sound in my mind kept ringing. Absorbed level 1 crystal core X1. Energy plus 12. Absorbed level 1 crystal core X1. Energy plus 11. Absorbed level 2 crystal core X1. Energy plus 150. The upgrade progress bar was skyrocketing. Finally, when the last bag of crystal cores was sent into the portal, energy charging complete. Current progress, 1000 over 1000. Dual world portal level increased to LV2. Spatial door size expanded to 5x 5 meters adjustable. Unlocked new feature. Material transmission channel. Stable state. Unlocked new permission. Two-way large vehicle transit. Unlocked new permission. Spatial anchor relocation. The original circular light vortex suddenly erupted with a dazzling blue light. After the light dissipated, what appeared in front of me was a rectangular light screen with straight edges, stable as a mirror, like a Stargate. embedded in the bedroom wall. It was just that the room was too small, the light screen pressed tightly against the ceiling, and the floor, almost filling the entire wall. Detected current space is limited. Portal size has auto-adapted. Maximum deployable size, 5x5 meters. Host can adjust portal size at any time via thought. I looked at the giant bridge of light in front of me, a smile curling on my lips. I turned around and spoke to the commander on the communicator. The door is open, and it's even bigger than we expected. However, I pointed at the ceiling. This temple is too small to hold this giant Buddha. We need to find it a new home. A new home? On the other end of the communicator, Zhao Jianguo looked at the portal on the screen, a glint in his eyes. Are you saying the portal can be moved now? Yes, Chief. I nodded. Although I can't move it wherever I want, but I can move it to any wall nearby. As long as the wall is big enough, it can fully expand. Good. Zhao Jianguo stood up abruptly. Notify the engineering department to initiate Plan B immediately. The so-called Plan B was a preset second-stage plan. An engineering unit had already secretly taken over the air raid shelter under the residential area and transformed it into an underground fortress. And over there, Outpost 0, all personnel attention. Prepare to evacuate room 302. After receiving the order, Lei Long began organizing the dismantling of the fortifications. Where are we moving to? Su-Won asked, puzzled. The defense system here just took shape. Isn't it a pity to abandon it now? Not a pity. I smiled at her through the light screen, because the place we're going to is a real fortress. And I smiled mysteriously. We have to make way for some big guys. Lei Long, take Dr. Su to the underground parking lot to assemble. We'll meet up there. Yes, sir. The relocation proceeded swiftly. On the Reality Side's underground base, a massive concrete wall was cleared. On the alternate world side, the engineering company also cleared an open space. At the entrance of the underground parking lot, 2 world coordinates calibrated. Wall structural strength test passed. Alternate world personnel have evacuated to safe zones. Relocation can begin. Inside room 302. I looked around the room. Retract. With a thought, the rectangular light screen instantly shrank, turning into a streak of light that drilled into my glabella. Let's go. I turned and left, heading straight for the entrance of the underground air raid shelter, under the escort of special agents. 10 minutes later, in the Reality Side's underground civil defense project, I stood in front of the massive concrete wall. Behind me were Zhao Jianguo and countless researchers. I took a deep breath and pressed my palm against the wall. Deploy. Hum. A faint blue light spread out, instantly occupying the entire wall. 5 meters high, 5 meters wide. The square light screen was as smooth as a mirror. Standing in front of it, a person seemed so insignificant. This was the LV2 form of the dual-world portal. Zhao Jianguo stood on the command platform, his heart surging with emotion. Palm print channel testing complete. On the other side is the entrance to the Jingshu Garden underground parking lot. The space is wide open. No obstacles detected. Excellent. Zhao Jianguo picked up the red command phone. This is Zhao Jianguo. Order the torrent of steel to move in. Rumble times. The ground began to tremble. The first to appear was a Type 99 main battle tank. This 55-ton king of land warfare held its head high, standing tall and proud. That thick, long 125mm smoothbore gun radiated a suffocating sense of oppression. Behind it came the second, the third. An entire tank company, followed closely by infantry fighting vehicles, self-propelled artillery, and heavy military trucks fully loaded with supplies. This is the power of the nation, a true dimensional strike. Base 0, move out. The first Type 99 tank, carrying an indomitable momentum, slowly drove toward the portal of light. The portal rippled as the massive body of the tank was swallowed up bit by bit. On the other side, the dim underground parking lot was suddenly illuminated by 2 massive headlights, accompanied by a deafening roar. The Type 99 tank, like a giant beast of steel, charged out from the portal of light on the wall, followed by the second, the third. A fully mechanized, heavy armored unit miraculously appeared in the ruins of the apocalypse. Su-Won stood in the corner, completely petrified. She knew we were strong, but she never expected us to be this times strong. Tanks. And top-tier, high-tech main battle tanks at that. Roar! From the depths of the underground parking lot came the roars of zombies. Over a dozen zombies staggered out and charged forward. Among them was a massive, hulking brute. The lead Type 99 tank didn't even bother turning its turret. It just maintained its speed and rolled right over them. Crunch. A spine-chilling sound of bones crushing echoed out. Whether it was the ordinary zombies or that giant brute in front of a 55-ton body of steel, there was no difference at all. They instantly turned into a puddle of meat paste. This was the torrent of steel. This was what you called a crushing defeat. I stood on top of an armored vehicle and said to Su-Won, who hadn't recovered her senses yet, Dr. Su, let's get reacquainted. This is the alternate world development office's base 0. I pointed at the endless convoy of armored vehicles pouring out behind me, the corners of my mouth slightly raised. And this is just the beginning. The roaring engines attracted zombies within a 2-kilometer radius. They howled, surging madly toward the entrance of the underground parking lot. like a grayish-black tide. Report. Radar detects a large number of thermal-biological signatures approaching. The number exceeds 3,000 and is still increasing. Inside the command center, the communications staff officer's voice was urgent but not panicked. Zhao Jianguo didn't even twitch an eyebrow, calmly issuing the order. Saves us the trouble of searching building by building. Let them get a little closer. Order. Armor detachment. Block the entrance. Fire at will. At the entrance of the underground parking lot, 3 Type 99 main battle tanks lined up, blocking the entrance like a great wall of steel. Behind them were infantry fighting vehicles and heavy machine gun positions. Roar. The first wave of the zombie tide roared as they charged. Several extremely fast hunters leaped high into the air, attempting a surprise attack from above. The commander of the first Type 99 looked at this coldly. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat. The 12.7mm anti-aircraft machine gun on top of the tank roared first. Immediately after, the 30mm autocannons and coaxial machine guns opened fire simultaneously. The dense tracer rounds wove into a net of death. Those hunters in midair were instantly beaten into a mist of blood and flesh. The zombies in the front row fell like harvested wheat, while the ones in the back stepped on the rotting corpses to continue the charge, only to be met by the 30mm autocannons' high explosive rounds firing into the center of the horde. Exploding, every shot kicked up a storm of blood and gore. Not a single zombie could charge within 20 meters of the ramp. This wasn't a battle. It was a one-sided massacre. 40 minutes later, the gunfire died down. On the slope outside the entrance, a 2-meter-high mountain of corpses had already piled up. Several engineering bulldozers roared out, pushing the corpses aside like shoveling trash. Then, the recovery squad in hazmat suits entered the field, skillfully searching for crystal cores. Level 1 crystal core confirmed. Level 1 crystal core confirmed. Level 2 crystal core confirmed. This tyrant has a red one in its head. A team member excitedly held up a blood-red crystal. That unlucky tyrant didn't even get a clear look at the tank. Before half its body was blown off by the autocannon, Su-Wan stood by the command vehicle, staring blankly at all this. The zombie tides in her memory meant death and despair. But today, those terrifying monsters were like raw materials on an assembly line, efficiently slaughtered, cleaned up, and recycled. Is this the strength of a nation? She muttered to herself. This is nothing. I appeared beside her at some point, handing her an ice-cold cola. Wait until the Air Force comes in later, or we launch a missile strike. Then you'll know what true carpet bombing is. Su-Wan took the cola, feeling an unreal sense of trance. Rather than watching the show, Dr. Su, your battlefield is over there. I pointed not far away. Engineers were building at an astonishing speed, erecting a complex of white cabin structures. That is. Su-Wan followed the direction of my finger, her eyes instantly widening. AP. 3 Mobile Biological Laboratory, I said with a smile. We directly brought over an entire set of field, hospital cabins, and the highest-level mobile laboratory, centrifuges, electron microscopes, gene sequencers. We brought you all the top-tier equipment you can think of. Su-Wan's hands trembled slightly. She knew the value of these things all too well. Electricity, water, supplies, and guaranteed safety. For a scientist, this is absolute paradise. As long as I have the equipment, I can conduct a deep analysis on these crystal cores. The Black Steel Group's primitive method of using them directly is not only dangerous, but also incredibly inefficient. Give me 3 days. Combined with the data I brought out, I'll definitely figure out their energy composition and find a truly safe way to utilize them. The light reignited in Su-Wan's eyes. This is what true scientific research looks like. I nodded, looking at the torrent of steel sweeping the battlefield in the distance. Several high-power searchlights lit up on the roof of the residential complex, piercing through the darkness that had shrouded Haishin City for 12 years, declaring the return of human civilization. It's safe here now. I took a deep breath. From today on, with this building as the center, a 2-kilometer radius will be our absolute territory. Night fell. The high-power searchlights pierced through the darkness of Haishan City. Linhao Base had officially taken root in the apocalypse. Haishan City Water Treatment Plant Number 3. This was the biggest money sink and devil's den in the wasteland. Electrified wire fences topped the towering walls. Heavy machine guns and searchlights were mounted on the watchtowers. Outside the walls was the slum. Thousands of survivors were packed together like livestock, working for the lords of the inner city, just to exchange for a bowl of muddy water and half a moldy protein block. Separated by a single wall, the inner city was a whole different world. Inside a luxurious office, Lee Sen was elegantly cutting the spam on his plate. As the intelligence director of the Black Steel Group, he enjoyed the highest tier of luxury in the apocalypse. The texture of this batch of spam isn't as good as the last one. Lee Sen frowned. Next time, have the scavenging team check the basements in the wealthy district. There should still be some unexpired imported goods there. Yes, Brother Sen. The beautiful secretary beside him replied, trembling with fear. Knock, knock, knock. A frantic knocking echoed from the door. Lee Sen's eyes instantly turned cold. Didn't I say not to disturb me while I'm eating? Asked Sen. Brother Sen. Something huge happened. A trusted subordinate rushed in, looking absolutely terrified. What are you panicking for? Lee Sen shot him a displeased glare. Did those mad dogs from the Wild Wolf Gang come to harass the water trucks again? Or are those religious nutjobs from the Relief Society pulling another mass sacrifice? And neither. The subordinate gulped, pointing out the window. You You'd better see this for yourself. Lee Sen scoffed coldly and walked over to the window. He violently yanked the curtains open. The next second, the wine glass in his hand slipped and shattered on the floor with a time's crash. His pupils shrank drastically, staring dead at the scene outside. About 5 kilometers southeast of the water plant, a blinding pillar of white light pierced straight into the clouds. In these pitch-black ruins, it looked so dazzling, so utterly brazen. That's Jingshu Garden, near Haitian First High School. Lee Sen narrowed his eyes. Isn't that a heavy disaster zone swarming with zombies? Who the hell has the guts to turn on a light there? It's not just lights. The subordinate reported, his voice trembling. Half an hour ago, intense explosions and heavy gunfire suddenly erupted from over there. How big is the commotion? It sounds like a whole damn army rolled into the city. A muffled explosion echoed clearly from the distance, making the bulletproof glass buzz and vibrate. Lee Sen's face completely drained of color. As a retired veteran, he was all too familiar with that sound. That's a 30mm caliber high explosive round, he muttered in utter disbelief. This rate of fire, this rhythm, that's the autocannon of a ZBD 048 infantry fighting vehicle, and that's the sound of a 12.7mm anti-aircraft machine gun. In this apocalypse, where even rifle bullets had become hard currency, who the hell could possibly have this kind of organized heavy firepower? Could it be remnants of the federal government? Impossible. Lee Sen immediately rejected the thought. The Haitian military district was overrun by the zombie tide 8 years ago. I even went to confirm it myself. Brother Sen, could it be the Wild Wolf Gang? Did they dig up some pre-war armory? Lee Sen sneered. Lei Hu is a meathead. Give him a cannon and he'd only use it as a hammer. Besides, even if he had a cannon, he wouldn't have that many shells to burn. He pointed at the pillar of light and the continuous roar of gunfire, his fingers trembling slightly. Listen to that racket. They've been firing for almost an hour, right? That's saturation bombardment. The ammo they're burning through every single second could buy us 100 slaves, even at our absolute peak. We wouldn't dare be this wasteful. After the fear came a deep, consuming greed. A wolf-like glint flashed in Lee Sen's eyes. No matter who's over there, it means there's a massive treasure trove. It could be an armory, an energy facility, or even a massive stockpile of crystal cores. Pass down my orders. Lee Sen stopped pacing, returning to his usual sinister and cold demeanor, but the fanaticism in his eyes couldn't be hidden. Deploy the Yishao squad. The subordinate shuddered. Brother Sen, you want to use the Yishao squad. They're our most elite, since the other side has heavy firepower. Sending ordinary men is just a suicide mission. Lee Sen said coldly. Have Yishao lead the team. Equip them with our best gear. Night vision goggles, suppressors, and those few prize Gauss rifles we've been hoarding. He paused, taking out a syringe from his drawer that glowed with a faint blue light, and tossed it to his subordinate. Tell Yishao, if they run into a tough nut to crack, he is authorized to use serum num too. The subordinate hurriedly caught the syringe, his hands shaking. That was a berserker serum that could drastically boost the user's strength for a short time, but the side effects were severe. There is only one mission. Figure out exactly who we're dealing with. Lee Sen walked to the window, looking at the pillar of light, and made a throat-slitting gesture. If they're a powerful dragon just passing through, we'll play the coward and talk cooperation. But if they're just some fat sheep who got lucky, a cruel smirk curled on his lips, then we'll swallow them whole, skin and bones. Every single bullet over there, every single crystal core belongs to Black Steel. Meanwhile, 2 kilometers away from Jingshu Garden, at the Wild Wolf Gang's hideout, this place looked more like a savage wasteland camp. On the walls built from piled-up scrap cars, hung the skulls of mutated beasts. Right now, the camp was dead silent. Everyone was gathered on the walls, staring dumbfounded at the firelight in the distance. The burly Lei Hu stood at the highest point, holding a chipped monocular, staring intently in that direction. Boss, should we go join the fun? A lackey leaned in, his eyes gleaming with greed. Listen to that racket. That's definitely a huge piece of fat meat. Those guys have been fighting for so long. They've got to be running on fumes by now. Should we wait until they finish off the zombies and go pick up the scraps? We might even score some good guns. Lei Hu backhanded him, slapping the lackey hard across the head. Pick up scraps. I think you want to go pick up your own ashes. He lowered the monocular and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Are you fucking deaf? Those are tanks. Legitimate, fully tracked main battle tanks. And that times thump 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 times sound, that's the autocannon of an infantry fighting vehicle. Lei Hu grabbed the lackey by the collar and roared. Back when I was running the streets, I've seen it all. That kind of rapid-fire weapon. One burst could level our entire shitty camp to the ground. And you want to take a few rusty nail guns to pick up scraps. One shell from them and there won't even be dust left of you. He let go, forcing himself to calm down. As a local warlord, the reason he had survived this long was his intuition, which was sharper than a mutated beast's. When that pillar of light lit up, he felt an unprecedented chill. It was a sense of powerlessness. When facing a higher dimensional power, pass down the order. Everyone stays put in the camp. Put out all the campfires. If anyone dares to wander over there, I won't even wait for them to make a move. I'll skin you alive myself. Also, pull all the outer sentries back 200 meters. Don't let those gods over there misunderstand and think we're looking for trouble. The lackeys looked at their usually arrogant boss, cowering like this, and all of them fell silent out of fear. Lei Hu looked at the towering pillar of light in the distance, his eyes full of awe and dread. The sky is changing, he muttered to himself. Haishan City is about to get a new master. From now on, in this territory, The loudest voice won't be Black Steel, and it won't be us. It'll be those ruthless bastards over there. The night was dark and the wind howled, mixed with the distant roars of mutated beasts. A dark figure leaped down from the overpass like a ghost, followed by a second, a third. 5 people in total. They wore black beast hide combat suits and gas masks on their faces. Their red night vision goggles flickered with an eerie glow in the darkness. These were the sharpest fangs of the Black Steel group. The captain of the Yi Xiao squad, Yi Xiao, knelt on one knee and made a hand signal to halt. He glanced at his tactical watch. The hour hand pointed to 2 a.m. Jinshu Garden is just ahead. Yi Xiao lowered his voice, speaking through the throat mic. Strong light source in the target area. Stay hidden. Captain, that artillery fire from earlier has stopped. The voice of the assaulter, Feng Go, came through the earpiece. Looks like those fat sheep are done fighting. They're probably exhausted and sleeping in the buildings right now. Don't get careless. Yi Xiao reminded him coldly. Anyone who can make that much noise is definitely not your average survivor, the boss said. This mission is strictly reconnaissance. Our main priority is to figure out who they are, if their defenses are lax. He touched the highly toxic dagger at his waist, a ruthless glint flashing in his eyes. Then we'll grab a hostage to take back. Yi Xiao was very confident. As a Tier 1 speed enhancer, his neural reaction speed was 3 times that of a normal person. In his eyes, no matter what kind of heavy firepower the enemy had, in a nighttime urban skirmish, it was still the domain of evolvers like them. Tanks and cannons are just sitting ducks in the ruins. Move out. The 5 dark figures instantly scattered, using cover to creep toward the pillar of light. However, he had no idea that 500 meters up in the sky, an invisible pair of eyes was staring dead at him. TS key. TS key. Their movements are pretty professional. Huh? Inside the Base Zero Command Center, I was holding a cup of instant noodles, slurping them down, while looking at the massive high-definition screen in front of me. On the screen was a crystal-clear grayscale thermal imaging feed. 5 distinct humanoid silhouettes were infiltrating the area. Real-time data was even annotated next to them. Target leader, heart rate 85, body temperature 37 degrees Celsius, armed with high-hardness alloy blade, suspected biochemical toxin carried at waist. Target B, assaulter, heart rate 92, carrying short-barreled firearm, abnormal muscle density, suspected strength enhancer. So this is the so-called Yi Xiao squad. Lei Long curled his lips in disdain. With this level of stealth, in our special ops brigade, they wouldn't even pass the first round of selections. Look at the guy on the left, sticking his ass up that high. Is he afraid the snipers will miss? For apocalyptic survivors, they're actually not bad. Zhao Jianguo held his teacup, his tone flat. They know how to use the terrain. They know how to spread out their formation, and they're even equipped with anti-thermal imaging hides. It's just a pity. Their equipment concepts are still stuck 20 years in the past. He pointed to a small red dot on the screen. Our hummingbird microdrone is hovering, just 100 meters above their heads, and they haven't noticed a damn thing. This is a generational gap. Those so-called anti-thermal beast hides, in front of military-grade multispectral detection radar, are as transparent as pantyhose. Commander, should we take them out? Lei Long asked for orders. The sniper teams have locked onto all targets. Just give the word, and we'll blow their heads off in 3 seconds. Hold on. I swallowed the beef in my mouth. Since the Black Steel group was kind enough to send us a gift, it'd be rude to turn them away. Didn't Su Wan say she was short on test subjects? These evolvers are perfect for her to slice up and study. I mean, to cooperate times with her research. Zhao Jianguo nodded. Take them alive. Since we need to establish our dominance, let's show them what modern warfare looks like. Order Special Ops Team 1 to close the net. At this moment, Yi Xiao suddenly felt an inexplicable chill. This feeling, it was like being stared down by some terrifying prehistoric behemoth. As an evolver, this intuition had saved his life countless times. Yi Xiao abruptly stopped in his tracks and instantly slid under the chassis of an abandoned bus. What's wrong, Captain? Something's wrong. Yi Xiao's voice was dry. It's too quiet. Yes, it was far too quiet. They had already infiltrated to within 300 meters of the light source. But there was nothing here, just a deathly silence. Captain, look over there, the assaulter suddenly cried out. Yi Xiao looked in the direction he was pointing, and his pupils violently contracted. In the clearing 100 meters ahead, parked several massive behemoths. Those were tanks, but not the kind Black Steel Group had. Those crude tanks modified from bulldozers. These were genuine killing machines, with streamlined turrets and long, sleek gun barrels. Even while dormant, the overwhelming aura of steel and death made Yi Xiao feel like he was suffocating. Those are main battle tanks. Yi Xiao's eyes widened in shock. These are definitely not the scrap metal junkers. Black steel cobbled together. These are real war machines. Oh shit, the turret is moving. Yi Xiao realized in horror. The turret of that tank was turning toward them without making a single sound. The pitch-black muzzle instantly locked onto them. At the same time, an intense sense of crisis surged in his heart. It was too quiet, which meant the enemy had discovered them long ago. Retreat. Fall back. Yi Xiao practically roared the command. It's a trap. Run. He turned and bolted, his previous confidence completely gone. But it was too late. The moment they turned around, a muffled gunshot rang out. Yi Xiao felt his right hand suddenly go light, followed by an agonizing, piercing pain. His tactical dagger, along with half of his hand, was blown to pieces by a large-caliber bullet. Sniper. 2 o'clock. 2 more gunshots rang out. The weapons in the hands of 2 squad members were sent flying. Who's there? Come out and fight me one-on-one if you have the guts. The assaulter Fungu roared. He pulled out a red syringe and viciously stabbed it toward his neck. It was serum no. 2. However, when the needle was just 1 centimeter away from his skin, a blue arc of electricity tore through the night sky. Fengu's entire body convulsed violently. Foaming at the mouth, he fell over stiffly. Damn it! Yi Xiao looked at his instantly downed teammate, a flash of desperate madness in his eyes. Since we can't run, then we fight to the death. The muscles in his legs tensed up, and he instantly launched himself forward as fast as lightning. However, the moment he took off, dozens of blinding white searchlights instantly lit up from all directions, illuminating his area as bright as day. The intense light instantly blinded Yi Xiao. He let out a miserable scream, clutching his eyes as he crashed to the ground. Welcome to Linhao Base, a cold voice echoed through a loudspeaker. Or rather, welcome to the annihilation zone of modern information warfare. Yi Xiao fought through the agonizing pain and barely managed to open his eyes a crack. He saw a scene he would never forget for the rest of his life. All around him, dozens of fully armed soldiers had appeared out of nowhere. They were heavily equipped, and the rifles in their hands were loaded with all sorts of attachments he couldn't even name. Dozens of red laser sights were densely dotted across him and his teammates, and right in front of him, that Type 99 main battle tank had silently turned its turret. That massive 125mm smoothbore gun was pointing coldly right at his head, less than 20 meters away. Pointing a main battle tank at a guy holding a dagger? Is this something a human would fucking do? Despair. Absolute despair. Everything Yi Xiao took pride in was nothing but a joke in front of these steel behemoths and infrared sights. Like a clown. Don't fire. Yi Xiao slowly raised his hands. In front of that gun barrel that could blast him into dust, he slowly dropped to his knees. I surrender. 10 minutes later, inside the underground interrogation room of Linhao Base, the once arrogant and untouchable Yi Xiao squad was now like 5 plucked chickens, locked into interrogation chairs. When I walked in, Yi Xiao was hanging his head, his eyes completely hollow. Look up. Lei Long scoffed coldly. Yi Xiao trembled as he raised his head and saw me, a man who looked far too young. Let me introduce myself. I took a sip of coffee, looking at him with a smile. I'm Lin Han, the master of this place. To be honest, I'm quite interested in this so-called evolver ability of yours. I set down my cup and pointed at the lab behind the one-way glass next to us. In there, Su Wan, wearing a white lab coat, was excitedly calibrating the equipment. My chief scientist happens to be short on a few live specimens to study the effects of crystal cores on the human body. So, our next conversation will determine whether you lie on the dissection table and dedicate yourselves to science, or go out back as penal laborers and help us move bricks. The smile on my face remained as bright as ever, but in Yi Xiao's eyes, it was more terrifying than a demon. Now tell me, those higher-ups at the Black Steel Syndicate, before they sent you here, did they mention how they wanted to die? Lin Han's base. Underground interrogation room. An hour had passed. The wounds on Yi Xiao's hands had been treated, but the lingering pain kept reminding him of everything that had just happened. On the other side of the one-way glass, Su Wan held a test report, her brows tightly furrowed. The results are in. I pushed the door open and walked into the observation room. They're out. Su Wan handed the report to me, a trace of pity in her tone. How should I put this? These so-called evolvers are nothing but a complete and utter scam. Su Wan pointed at the microscopic cell images on the report. Their cells, although showing over 5 times the vitality of a normal person's, aren't undergoing natural evolution. They're being forcibly ignited by the virus. Yes, ignited. It's just like injecting an excessive amount of accelerant into an engine. Su Wan used an analogy. A mutant strain of the virus is constantly eroding their telomeres, forcibly overdrawing their cell's life force, in exchange for short bursts of power. At this rate of decay, she glanced at Yi Xiao in the interrogation room, and even without any physical injuries, he won't live past 3 to 5 years. When the time comes, he'll die from total organ failure, or completely degenerate into a mindless zombie. I raised an eyebrow. In other words, the Black Steel Syndicate's so-called God-making project is actually just mass-producing short-lived ghosts. Not just short-lived ghosts, but mobile biochemical bombs, Su Wan said coldly. This modification is irreversible. That guy named Li Sen is treating living people entirely as disposable consumables. Understood. I nodded, a smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. This piece of intel is far more valuable than the defense maps in their heads. With that, I took the report and walked into the interrogation room. A document was slapped down in front of Yi Xiao. Take a look. I pulled out a chair and sat down. This is your medical report. Yi Xiao picked up the report in a daze. Although he couldn't understand the complex medical data, that final conclusion in bold red text, he could still read perfectly well. Diagnosis: severe cellular exhaustion, precursor to genetic chain collapse, estimated remaining lifespan, less than 3 years. What? What does this mean? Yi Xiao's voice was trembling. It means that the divine blood you're so proud of is actually a lethal poison. I pointed at Su Wan behind the glass wall. My chief scientist just analyzed your blood. The so-called enhancement serum that the Black Steel Syndicate injected you with is actually just overdrawing your life force. You think you've gotten stronger, but you're really just burning the candle at both ends. Impossible. Brother Sen said this is the key to evolution. This is the mark of a new human. Yi Xiao abruptly stood up, only to be yanked hard back into his chair by the handcuffs. You're lying to me. You're just trying to shake my resolve. Lying to you. I let out a scoff. Haven't you felt it yourself? The extreme weakness after every time you use your power. The agonizing pain deep in your bones at night, and that increasingly uncontrollable bloodlust. Yi Xiao froze. His face instantly turned deathly pale, because every single symptom I mentioned had accurately struck the deepest, darkest fears in his heart. He had always thought it was the price of evolution. Was it really just a countdown to death? They've been lying to us all along. Yi Xiao muttered to himself, the light in his eyes completely extinguishing. The collapse of one's faith is the most despairing thing of all. It's not all bad news, though. I suddenly changed my tone. Although it's irreversible. If you cooperate, Dr. Su might have a way to help you slow down the process. She might even let you live out your remaining days like a normal human being. Yi Xiao snapped his head up, staring at me dead in the eye. What do you want? I want everything on the no. 3 water purification plant. I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. Defense layouts, fire points, personnel deployments, and where that Lee Sen is hiding. I want it all. Half an hour later, in the command center, a detailed defense map of the number 3 water purification plant was already projected onto the large screen. Gotta say, this is a pretty tough nut to crack. Zhao Jianguo looked at the map, at the densely packed fire points, his expression grave. 3 lines of defense. Over 2,000 slaves used as meat shields, and 300 fully armed private soldiers. Aside from those modified armored vehicles we've seen, they're actually hiding a combat helicopter. It's a pre-war relic, a Storm-class light tiltrotor aircraft. Although its firepower is fierce, they lack the specialized high-energy solid fuel for it. A single flight would burn through half their warehouse reserves. They wouldn't dare use it under normal circumstances, I added. According to Yi Xiao's confession, the Black Steel Syndicate's core forces, aside from these 300-odd private soldiers, also include about 50 evolvers like him. The strongest among them is the security captain, Butcher. Rumor has it he's a tier 2 strength enhancer. Flipping a car in front of a heavy machine gun doesn't hold any real tactical value, Lei Long chimed in. The key issue right now is that they control the water source. Zhao Jianguo pointed to the water purification workshop at the center of the map. If we launch a frontal assault, Lee Sen, that lunatic, is highly likely to blow up the purification equipment, or even poison the water. That's the only operational deep-level groundwater well left in Haishan City. It's also a crucial resource for our future development of this world, so we can't force our way in. We have to outsmart them? I asked. Zhao Jianguo shook his head, a flash of iron-blooded resolve in his eyes. It's a decapitation strike. He drew a red line on the map, piercing straight into the Black Steel Syndicate's core administration building. Special ops infiltration, coordinated with a frontal feint. Before they can even react, we take out their command center directly. Zhao Jianguo turned around and looked at me. Comrade Lin Han, haven't you always wanted to test the dual world portals? Spatial anchor tethering. In actual combat? I paused for a moment, then my eyes lit up. Commander, you mean? What if we open the portal directly inside their base camp? Zhao Jianguo smiled faintly. Say, right next door to Lee Sen's office. I looked at the map and took a deep breath. This isn't a decapitation strike. This is literally putting a blade right to their throats. Open the portal. Let's do it. I slammed my hand on the table. This is absolutely going to be the most ruthless special op in history. Late at night in Haishan City, black rain was still falling from the sky. About 2 kilometers away from the number 3 water purification plant, at an abandoned subway entrance, an elite 12-man squad was advancing under the cover of darkness. In the very center of the formation, heavily guarded, how much longer? I asked, keeping my voice low. Even wearing a full set of heavy riot gear and gripping a submachine gun, my heart was still racing. After all, this was a genuine deep infiltration mission behind enemy lines. Past this maintenance tunnel is the purification plant's underground pump room. Leading the way as our guide was former squad leader Yi Xiao, now codenamed Prisoner. That pump room has been abandoned for a long time. It's right underneath the administration building, where Lee Sen's office is located. It's the only defensive blind spot in the entire base. The muzzle of Lei Long's gun remains subtly aimed at the back of Yi Xiao's head. He said coldly, "You'd better pray that path hasn't caved in. Otherwise, you'll be the first one buried in there." Yi Xiao let out a bitter smile, but didn't reply. 10 minutes later, we arrived in front of a thick concrete wall. This is it. Yi Xiao pointed upwards. Right above us is the administration building's basement. Behind this wall used to be the backup generator room. It's a large space. I stepped forward and touched the freezing wall. Eligible spatial anchor detected. Do you wish to deploy the spatial portal at this location? Take him down and keep him under guard. I ordered, turning around. 2 squad members immediately stepped forward, threw a hood over Yi Xiao's head, and dragged him away. After confirming all non-essential personnel were cleared out, I finally turned back around. Phew. I let out a long breath, glancing back at Lei Long and the special ops team behind me. Zhao Jianguo had originally been dead set against me risking myself in person, but the spatial anchor tethering required the host to manually set the coordinates. This was a risk I had to take. Everyone get ready. Though my voice was still a bit tense, it carried an undeniable sense of resolve. The special ops team instantly fanned out, forming a defensive perimeter. I closed my eyes and connected with the system in my mind. Deploy. VMMM. A deep blue light suddenly flared up in the pitch-black underground space. A massive rectangular portal of light, 5 meters wide and 4 meters tall, materialized out of thin air before everyone's eyes. Almost the instant the portal formed, a chilling, murderous aura surged out from the other side. It was the sheer presence of steel and gunpowder. Operation Thunder. From the other side of the portal came Zhao Jiangguo's steady, powerful voice. Attack. Rumble. Rumble. Boom. The synchronized sound of marching footsteps echoed like a beating drum. The first wave to charge out consisted of 3 Lynx all-terrain assault vehicles, the remote weapon stations on their roofs, gleaming with the cold light of death. Following right behind were 2 full platoons of heavily armed special ops troops. They flooded into this narrow space like a black tide. The spacious underground basement was instantly packed with a torrent of steel, teleported straight from Earth. I quickly stepped aside, watching this awe-inspiring scene, all the tension in my heart vanishing in an instant, replaced by an indescribable sense of pride. This is the power of having a nation backing you. What post-apocalyptic warlords, what awakened ones. In the face of a modernized, fully organized military force, they're all just fragile clay pots and stray dogs. At this very moment, on the 3rd floor of the administration building, in the general manager's office, Li Sen had his feet propped up on his desk, swirling half a glass of red wine. Yi Xiao isn't back yet, he asked his deputy standing nearby. Not yet, boss, but there was some gunfire from that direction earlier. Probably that little camp putting up a bit of a fight. Held things up a little, the deputy said sycophantically. You can trust Yi Xiao to get the job done. Before dawn, that camp supplies and that pretty chick will definitely be delivered right to your bed. Heh, they better be. Li Sen sneered. Things haven't been peaceful lately. I heard that Salvation Army out west is getting restless again. If Yi Xiao can bring back some good stuff this time, we can use it to expand our arsenal. Before he could even finish his sentence, a massive explosion shook the ground like an earthquake. The entire administration building trembled violently. The wine glass on the desk vibrated right off the edge. What the hell? An earthquake? Li Sen panicked. Our report, boss. From the walkie-talkie came the terrified screams of the guards downstairs. The basement blew up. No, wait, it didn't blow up. There are vehicles. Tanks are charging out of the basement. Are you out of your damn mind? Li Sen cursed furiously. Where the hell would tanks come from in the basement? Did they dig their way in like moles? But a second later, the curses died in his throat. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat. The muffled, relentless roar of heavy machine gun fire erupted directly in the lobby downstairs, followed immediately by explosions and agonizing screams. It was a storm of metal tearing everything to shreds. B-boss, they're charging up. They're too fast. It's special forces. It's really special forces. The voice on the walkie-talkie abruptly cut off. Li Sen's face instantly turned as pale as a sheet of paper. With trembling hands, he pulled a Desert Eagle from his drawer. Just as he was about to rush toward the door, bang! The solid wood door, along with its frame, was violently kicked in by a heavy tactical boot. Amidst the flying splinters, 2 stun grenades rolled in. BZZZT, blinding white light and deafening noise, instantly stripped Li Sen of all his senses. He collapsed to the floor like a drunkard. By the time his vision recovered slightly, he only felt several freezing gun muzzles pressed hard against his forehead. A cold voice rang in his ear. Li Sen, right? If you don't want your head blown off, tell all your men to drop their weapons. Li Sen struggled to open his teary eyes and saw a group of fully armed soldiers, equipped so well it filled him with absolute despair. And behind these soldiers, a figure wearing a heavy riot suit was staring at him coldly through a visor. This is impossible. Li Sen squeezed a despairing voice from his throat. Where the hell did you people come from? I stepped forward, looking down at this post-apocalyptic warlord. I pointed at the floor beneath my feet and flashed a bright smile. You might not believe this, but we sprouted right out of your basement. The battle ended quickly, but the post-war cleanup was far more tedious. When the first rays of dawn fell upon the No. 3 water purification plant, this fortress, once ruled by violence and fear, finally welcomed a moment of peace. In the plaza, the once arrogant private soldiers of the Black Steel Syndicate were now squatting on the ground with their hands on their heads. Behave yourselves. Don't move. A special ops soldier viciously smashed his rifle butt into the back of a soldier who had tried to pull a dagger. The soldier trembled in terror, instantly wetting his pants. This scene was witnessed by the over 2,000 survivors, squatting in the corner not far away. In their numb eyes, aside from fear, there was now a trace of unbelievable shock. In their minds, new conquerors usually meant a new round of slaughter, or even more brutal enslavement. However, the expected whippings, insults, and executions never came. Instead, waves of an aroma, capable of stirring humanity's most primal desires, wafted over. It wasn't the burnt stench of roasted mutant meat, nor the sour smell of moldy bread. It was the distinct, pure fragrance of rice porridge. This is the smell of rice porridge. In the corner of the crowd, an emaciated old man twitched his nose, a sudden burst of life sparking in his dull eyes. He stared intently at the other side of the plaza, where several soldiers in hazmat suits were carrying down several massive stainless steel thermal vats. The moment the lids were lifted, white steam instantly billowed into the air. For these people who had been struggling in the apocalypse for 12 years, this white steam was more addictive than the purest of drugs. The soldier in charge of distribution turned on his megaphone. Line up. there's enough for everyone. The sense of peace and order in his tone was a heavenly melody these survivors hadn't heard in 12 years. Elderly, women, and children first. Don't worry, there's plenty of food. Once you've eaten, head to the medical tents on the left for a physical checkup. A commotion rippled through the crowd, but seeing the armed soldiers standing guard around them, they timidly stopped in their tracks. Is it really for us to eat? A little girl looked timidly at the soldier who walked up to her, her eyes filled with both longing and fear. The soldier crouched down, pulled a sausage from his pocket, and handed it to her. Eat up. You won't have to go hungry ever again. At that moment, the girl's mother suddenly hugged her child and burst into wailing tears. The crying seemed contagious, quickly spreading through the entire crowd. Over 2,000 survivors wept their hearts out before those few vats of white porridge. It was the release of 12 years of suppressed suffering and the catharsis of finding hope in the depths of despair. In the underground lab area behind the administration building, the atmosphere was completely different. It felt like a remnant of hell. These animals. Su-won stood in a room labeled Evolution Chamber, gripping the electronic datapad in her hands so tightly it creaked. The room was filled with massive glass vats. The vats didn't contain specimens, but failures. Those humans who had been forcibly injected with excessive crystal core extract, causing their genes to collapse and their bodies to mutate, were suspended in preservative fluid, staring out at the world with unclosing, dead eyes. This is their so-called God-making project. Lei Long stood behind Su-won, looking at this purgatory-like scene, his tone terrifyingly cold. Using living people as lab rats to test the virus's critical point. Just test. Su-won pointed at a bloodstained experiment log, her voice trembling. They were trying to mass-produce evolvers. Li Sen believed that as long as the base number was large enough, they would eventually filter out a few sons of God who could adapt to symbiosis with the virus. As for the failures, they're the things in these vats. The log was densely packed with experimental data. Subject 074, injected with 10 milliliters of tear, 1 crystal core extract. Violent reaction. Blood vessels ruptured throughout the body. Cause of death. Multiple organ. Subject 109, injected with 5 milliliters of tear, 2 crystal core extract. Partial skeletal metallization observed, but immediately lost control. Went berserk. Has been disposed of. Subject 213. Behind every line of cold data was a living, breathing human life. Gather all these files. Su-won took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing her nausea and anger. Although it's cruel, this data is crucial for our research into a vaccine and finding a safe way to utilize the crystal cores. It holds significant reference value. We can't let them die in vain. Understood. Then what about these scumbags? Lai Long pointed at the few Black Steel Syndicate researchers shivering in the corner. Su-won shot them a cold glare. Leave them to the survivors for judgment. I imagine the families who lost their loved ones would be more than happy to exchange experimental insights with them. On the ground floor of the administration building in the general manager's office, this place had already become my temporary frontline command center. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the orderly crowds lining up downstairs, and the engineering vehicles beginning to clear the rubble in the distance. This was the first step in rebuilding civilization. Zhao Jianguo's figure appeared on the command terminal screen on the desk. Lin Han, you did a great job. Not only did we take over the territory, more importantly, you've won the people's hearts. Sometimes, a bowl of hot porridge is indeed more effective than guns, I remarked, but to keep their loyalty, we're going to need a lot more resources. Have they been inventoried yet? Zhao Jianguo asked. We're counting them now. The spoils of war are beyond imagination. I turned to look at the busy logistics officer, reporting to the commander. The preliminary inventory is ready. The logistics officer handed over a tactical tablet. First up is the gold. Lai Sen hoarded about 21 tons of gold in his underground vault. I nodded. In the real world, this batch of gold would be worth nearly $1 billion in funds. It's more than enough to fill the massive financial holes in the early stages of Project Spark. Next is the tech equipment. The logistics officer pointed to the 3 silver suitcases nearby. These cases are the biggest surprise. We found them in Li Sen's private collection room. It's a batch of military-grade tactical tablets and a portable server. I casually picked up a tablet and swiped the screen a few times. The system ran buttery smooth. This solves a huge problem for us. My eyes lit up. With a massive amount of real-time data, network protocols, and encrypted maps stored inside, we might be able to awaken some of this city's dormant systems. Finally, and most importantly, the logistics officer lowered his voice. He opened the black and gold suitcase in the middle. In an instant, a dazzling red glow illuminated the office. Crystal cores. The Black Steel Syndicate hoarded all their high-quality stock over the years, and it's all right here. Neatly arranged inside the case were over 30 blood red tier, 2 crystal cores, along with over 400 tier, 1 crystal cores, high-purity energy source detected. Tier, 2 biological crystal cores found, 32. Tier, 1 biological crystal cores found, 415. Estimated convertible energy, 4,800 points. Level 2 plus 49.8 level 1. Current energy reserves, 9,780. I stared at the system, data flashing across my retina. My breath hitched for a moment. Nearly 10,000 points just for taking down a regional warlord. I've already gathered 90% of the energy needed to upgrade OB3. With such massive energy reserves, I'm officially a nouveau riche. I can open material transport channels without a second thought. and bring in a steady stream of heavy equipment. I can also use spatial anchors to drag the flames of war right to any enemy's doorstep. Besides that, we found something else. In Li Sen's computer, logistics officer Ho Qingguan pulled up a blurry satellite map. It was a map showing the power distribution around Haishan City. 2 critical coordinates were marked on it. He pointed to a red dot on the edge of the map. The first is the lighthouse camp, located west of the city. The notes say, it's a hub for pre-war researchers and has relatively complete industrial production capabilities. My eyes flickered. That's Su Wan's home. And the second one? Ho Qingguan pointed toward the city center, to an area covered in crimson. The second is the Haitian City Central Hospital. The Black Steel Group marked it, with a massive skull icon on the map. They labeled it a forbidden zone. But there's a line of small text below the note. Ho Qingguan zoomed in and read it aloud. Level 4. Mutation. Location of the Mother Nest. Immeasurable energy core reserves. A brief silence fell over the office. I stared at that crimson skull, almost feeling the terror radiating from the screen. A level 4, Mother Nest. If a level 2 energy core provides 150 points, then it seems our next target is clear. Zhao Jiangguo broke the silence from the other side of the screen. However, before that, we need to digest the spoils of this battle. Slow and steady wins the race. I nodded. I turned my gaze back toward the window. This place no longer belongs to the Black Steel Group. This is forward Base 01. The first fire of human civilization rekindled. In this desperate world, I took a deep breath. I knew this game was only just beginning, but I was no longer that trembling, ordinary young man. Behind me stands a powerful nation. Attention, everyone. Zhao Jiangguo's steady voice rang out from the screen, issuing the first military order since the occupation. Level 1 combat readiness is deactivated. All units, transition to construction mode. Ensure a preliminary defense perimeter is established within 24 hours. Furthermore, Zhao Jiangguo looked at me through the screen, his tone softening slightly. Tell the mess hall to add a special dish tonight. Braised pork for everyone. Forward Base 01. Civilization doesn't mean a free lunch. Both Zhao Jiangguo and I knew that, in the apocalypse, pure charity only breeds laziness. Only by establishing a fair exchange system can we truly revitalize this lifeless society. Attention, all personnel. A clear, powerful voice announced over the base's PA system. All healthy adults between the ages of 16 and 55, please gather at the square in front of the administration building. Report for identity registration and labor allocation. Repeat. Gather at the square in front of the administration building for identity registration and labor allocation. There wasn't much of a commotion among the crowd. Their only fear was whether their new masters would be even more ruthless than the Black Steel Group. Old Zhang stood in the crowd, feeling uneasy. He was a former chief engineer at the water plant. Now in his 50s, during Black Steel's reign, he barely managed to stay alive because of his technical skills, but he was merely surviving. Old Zhang, what do you think they'll make us do? They're not going to use us as zombie bait, are they? A young man beside him whispered. Don't talk nonsense. Old Zhang snapped, glaring at him. Have you ever seen bandits give their slaves brand new clothes? The line slowly moved forward. Name. The person in charge of registration was a young soldier wearing a black tactical exoskeleton. His tone was calm and professional. Zhang Jiangguo. Old Zhang stammered. No need for that. Stand up straight. The soldier looked up at him. What was your previous occupation? I was an engineer at the plant. Later, I was in charge of repairing water pumps and generators for Black Steel. An engineer? The soldier's eyes lit up. He tapped a few commands into his device. Look into the camera. A soft blue light scanned Old Zhang's iris. Identity profile created. Zhang Jiangguo, 52 years old. Senior technical personnel. ID 01T042. The soldier handed him a black rubber wristband. Put this on. This is your ID for the base. It's also your wallet and health monitor. Wallet. Old Zhang was stunned. Money had become worthless scrap paper long ago. That's right. The soldier pointed toward a massive LED screen in the center of the square. At Base 01, we don't use old paper currency, and we don't practice slavery. We use a contribution point system. Old Zhang followed his finger. Various entries were scrolling across the display. Base 01 task board. Basic labor. Battlefield cleanup. Moving corpses. 1 point. Includes hazard. Pay. Skilled labor. Urgent mechanical repairs. Electricians. 20 points per day. Subject to assessment. Senior technicians. Receive extra stipends. Resource gathering. High risk. High reward. Level 1 energy core. 100 points. Level 2 energy core. 1,500 points. On the other side of the screen was a dazzling list of supplies available for exchange. Food. White rice porridge, steamed buns, unlimited supply. 50 points per serving. Luncheon meat, 340 gi, 10 points per can. Special braised pork, 50 points per can. Daily necessities, soap, shampoo, 3 points. Antibiotics, amoxicillin, 50 points per pack. Cigarettes. Hard currency, 30 points per pack. Old Zhang was speechless. His Adam's apple bobbed violently. He quickly did the math in his head. If he took the toughest shift, moving 10 corpses a day would earn him 10 credits. That was enough to eat and drink his fill. But if he could get into mechanical repairs, my god, 20 credits a day. Wouldn't that mean he could get a can of braised pork every 2 days? More importantly, The rules here were open and transparent. As long as you were willing to work, you could live like a human being again. This wasn't just a base. This was paradise. Is this for real? Old Zhang asked, his voice trembling. You're really giving out braised pork. You're not just tricking us into working. Of course, the soldier smiled. He pulled a can of braised pork from under the table and shook it. As long as you have credits, you can eat as much as you want. The chief said that here, labor is the highest honor. The more you work, the more you get. I'm signing up. I know how to fix pump engines. I was the chief engineer at this factory. Old Zhang suddenly straightened his back. A light never seen before erupted in his eyes. I don't just fix pumps. I can fix generators and transformers too. Give me the tools. I can start right now. Very well. The soldier nodded with satisfaction. He entered a string of code into the wristband. Go to Sector B for the assessment. Once you pass, you'll start your shift today. Temporary command center. Top floor of the administration building. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the bustling scene below. That numb, deathly look on everyone's faces. It was fading away, replaced by a spark of vitality called hope. It seems humanity's ability to adapt is far stronger than we imagined. I mused. It's not just adaptation. Zhao Jiangguo's holographic image appeared on the screen. It's a craving for order. This credit system is essentially rebuilding a system of trust. As long as they believe their efforts will be rewarded, the productivity they unleash will be staggering. We also have the supplies provided by the state to thank for this. I chuckled. Without those mountains of canned food and grain to back up our credit, I wouldn't be able to make this system work. This is only the beginning. Zhao Jiangguo looks serious. The domestic expert teams have already conducted a preliminary analysis on the essence core samples you sent back. The energy density in these things is incredibly high. If we can crack the energy conversion mechanism, it would revolutionize the energy landscape of the real world. That's why Linhen Base know one must remain stable. This is our future energy mine. Don't worry, Uncle Zhao. I nodded. By the way, how's things on Su Wan's end? She's even busier than you. Lei Long chimed in from the side. She just handpicked over 30 people with medical and biological backgrounds from the survivors. And Lei Long paused. A hint of admiration appeared on his face. Our first group of construction aid experts has already crossed through the light gate. Those old professors from the Academy of Sciences, the moment they saw the virus samples and mutant tissue slices Su Wan brought out, they all got excited like they'd been injected with adrenaline. Right now, they've all buried themselves in the P3 lab on the second basement floor, all following Su Wan's lead. Man, what a sight. A bunch of white-haired academicians calling a young girl teacher and asking her for biological insights. It's quite something. Well, there's always something to learn from others, right? I smiled knowingly. Su Wan has struggled in this apocalypse for 12 years. Her experience in this field is indeed far richer than ours. Let the experts learn as much as they can. We need to merge the technologies of both worlds as quickly as possible, just as long as they don't trigger a Resident Evil scenario. I joked. Lei Long took the mic with a serious expression. Understood. Don't worry, Consultant Lin. We're keeping a close eye on the safety protocols. All outgoing labor teams must be led by an elite squad. Additionally, we're focusing on those who are willing to collect essence cores. These people are prime candidates for our future local auxiliary forces. Lei Long saluted and was about to turn and leave. Suddenly, the red alarm lights in the command center began to flash. A radar operator jumped up to report. Reconnaissance radar has picked up an abnormal signal. Lei Long and I turned at the same time. We strode over to the electronic map, directly west, 5 kilometers from the base, approaching us at high speed along the national highway. The operator pulled up the real-time drone feed. On the screen, a small convoy, consisting of 3 modified off-road vehicles and a heavy truck, was racing down the abandoned highway. The vehicles were welded with crude steel plates and spikes. My brow furrowed, my gaze locked onto the area marked in red on the map. That's the direction of the lighthouse camp. Yes. Lei Long zoomed in to confirm. It's a convoy from the lighthouse camp. From the looks of it, they're not on a mission. They're running for their lives. In the footage, the convoy swerved erratically. It seemed like something was chasing them. No matter what they're here for, I gripped my teacup. Since guests have arrived, we really ought to welcome them. I just don't know if they're friend or foe. When neighbors come knocking, we need to show our stance. Lei Long stepped forward solemnly. Consultant Lin, leave the defensive deployment to me. Since this is our first official contact, we must show them our strongest fist. I'll have those 299. A tanks move right to the main gate, with infantry fighting vehicles flanking them. Since they're here, we need to make them understand who's in charge. The first step of this diplomatic encounter is to show our blades. We need to teach these neighbors how to speak properly. With you guys here, I'm not worried. Second basement floor of forward base No. 01. Just 48 hours ago, this was a blood-stained forbidden zone, under the rule of the Black Steel Group. But after days and nights of disinfection and renovation by my engineers, it has become the most sophisticated place in the entire wasteland. A P3. Level biosafety laboratory. The heavy pneumatic doors slid open. I stepped into the core area wearing a sterile suit. There were no more grim torture devices here. Instead, there was all kinds of top-tier research equipment, rushed in from the real world. Dozens of precision instruments hummed low, and the first group of 8 experts, urgently dispatched by the Academy of Sciences, were gathered around Su Wan. Dr. Su, look at the RNA transcription process of this sample. Doesn't it share some similarities with the influenza virus? Teacher Su, regarding the metallization reaction of the tyrant's muscle fibers. I have a new hypothesis. Su-won couldn't hide the exhaustion in her eyes, but she was in a state of unprecedented, feverish focus. Professor Chen, that RNA fragment is a trap. That's why the virus is so good at camouflaging itself. Try the reverse transcription again. She operated the electron microscope without looking back. As for the metallization reaction, that's a trait only found in Tier 3 mutants and above. We don't have enough data on Tier 1 samples yet. Don't jump to conclusions. The moment she stood up, she saw me. A smile appeared on her tired face. Lin Han, what brings you here? I walked over with a smile. I signaled the hesitant old professors to carry on. Just checking in on our chief scientist. So, how do you like the new setup? Satisfied doesn't even cover it. Su-won ran her hand over a nearby mass spectrometer. Her eyes were gleaming. This is absolute paradise. The lighthouse camp kept some pre-war equipment too, but due to lack of power and maintenance, more than half of it is dead. The rest is constantly breaking down. But everything you have here is brand new. Some of these models are even better than the most advanced ones I remember from before the war. A craftsman must sharpen his tools to do good work. Lei Long told me you made a major breakthrough as soon as you arrived. Follow me. She led me to the analysis area with a serious expression. She handed me a thick report. Over the past 2 days, I've carefully analyzed the experimental data Lee Sen left behind for his so-called Godhood project. I have to say, the people of the Black Steel Group may be monsters, but the massive amount of data they gathered from human experimentation is a literal gold mine. To create their so-called enhanced soldiers, they injected thousands of survivors with varying concentration of essence core extract. Most died agonizing deaths from rejection, but while analyzing the death record, I noticed a strange phenomenon. What phenomenon? I flipped open the report. The words perceptual failures circled in red instantly caught my eye. Look, in the surveillance footage for Subject 302, a man covered in sores collapsed inside a zombie cage, yet the frenzied zombies around him acted like they were blind and completely ignored him. A massive shock suddenly gripped my heart. My pupils constricted. Invisibility? Not visual invisibility, but a masking of scent and perception. Zombies hunt primarily by scent, locking onto specific pheromones emitted by living organisms. Hearing is secondary, and in the 30 minutes before that subject died, a certain metabolic byproduct in his body neutralized that living person's scent. Lee Sen and those idiots were only obsessed with physical strength. They thought this subject was a failure, and disposed of him immediately. They had no idea that what they threw away was the real miracle. Su-won shook, the bottle in her hand, a spray bottle containing a pale green liquid. I extracted that special enzyme. Using the gene editing technology you provided, I removed the toxic segments that caused cell collapse, and used some essence core powder as a stabilizer to synthesize this. I call it Mist Number 1. A zombie pheromone camouflage spray. Just spray it on your body, and for 30 minutes, you'll be completely invisible to ordinary zombies. I took the cold spray bottle. In this apocalypse, something that can bypass the senses of a zombie tide is basically a real-life cheat code. It's the ultimate survival tool, built upon countless lives. Have you tested the effects? I asked, suppressing my excitement. We've already done live tests in the isolation zone. In the video, a special forces soldier sprayed the agent and walked into a path filled with zombies. The bloodthirsty monsters didn't react at all. Effective radius is about 3 meters. Duration is 30 minutes. However, there are limitations. Against Tier 2 mutants and above, the effect is significantly reduced because they've already evolved sharper vision and hearing to aid their judgment. Second, you can't attack. Once you make a violent move or fire a gun, the camouflage will fail. That's enough. I gripped the bottle tightly, enough for our search teams to go deep into the city center. Enough for us to enter dead zones we never dared to dream of before. Su-won, you've done a massive service. I looked at her and said solemnly, if this can be mass-produced, its value is no less than an armored division. Mass production will take time. Our current essence core reserves aren't enough. And, to improve its effectiveness against high-tier mutants, I need more data. Specifically, live data on Tier 2 mutants. The data will come. And so will the essence cores. My tactical terminal suddenly vibrated. The intel on it made my expression darken. What's wrong? The communications squad used the municipal network protocols left by the Black Steel Group to restore shortwave monitoring around the city. I walked toward the electronic map on the wall. Just 10 minutes ago, we intercepted a distress signal. The signal is weak and intermittent. It's using an open broadcast frequency. The code identifies it as the lighthouse camp. Su-won rushed to the map. She stared at the screen, her voice trembling. The lighthouse. What happened to them? What's the distress message? Only 2 words. Beast nest. The recon drones have already flown over. The footage shows a large pack of mutant beasts is besieging the outer walls of the lighthouse camp. If we don't intervene, with the lighthouse's defensive firepower, they won't last the night. Su-won gripped the lab table tightly. Not everyone in the lighthouse is a good person. Back then, to hoard limited resources, the higher-ups who drove me and my father out were selfish and cold-blooded. They even cut the power to my father's life support pod just to save electricity. I know. I understand the cruelty of human nature in this apocalypse all too well, and I'll never pass up an opportunity to seize resources. But I also know there are hundreds of innocent researchers there, just like your father, along with tons of experimental data and blueprints. Those people might be scum, but that knowledge is priceless. Dr. Su, I'm not going there to be a babysitter or a saint. Base no. 01 has guns, food, and medicine now. The only thing we lack is people. We lack technology and scientific power. What the lighthouse has is exactly what we need and what we have. I patted the supply crate. This is something they wouldn't even dare to dream of. I'm going there to make an acquisition. I'm taking everything from the lighthouse camp, the people, the equipment. I'm packing it all up and bringing it back. As for those who used to bully you, you'll see with your own eyes what happens when they face absolute power. Their so-called pride and authority will prove to be utterly worthless. Get ready. Dr. Sue turned and walked toward the door. A cold smirk curled onto my lips. Bring your Miss No One. This time, we're going to bring your old colleagues back, with all the glory and prestige you deserve. We're going to let everyone know that in this apocalypse, we are the only true lighthouse. Professor Chen, prepare to establish a level 2 biosafety isolation zone. We need to get ready to receive a large number of new live samples and new colleagues. Inside the freight corridor of the western main entrance, my troops had already set up a crossfire, forming a lethal line of defense, accompanied by a dull, heavy hum. 3 modified off-road vehicles and battered heavy trucks charged toward the hangar like they'd gone mad. Stop. This is a restricted military zone. Any further approach will be considered a hostile act. Open fire immediately. The convoy didn't slow down. A burly man leaned out of the lead car, frantically waving a flare gun. Our snipers roared in response. The 12.7mm rounds thudded into the ground, blasting craters right in front of their vehicles. The entire convoy slammed on their brakes, screeching to a dead halt. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. We're human. The burly man scrambled out of the car, practically falling over himself. We're the search team from the lighthouse camp to the west. We mean no harm. There's something chasing us from behind. Following his gaze, a massive cloud of dust exploded across the distant horizon. Several dark red mutant dogs were closing in at a terrifying speed. Hunters. The man's face went pale instantly. Being torn apart by level 2 mutant beasts only takes a second. Just as he closed his eyes, waiting for death, the canvas behind the defense line was suddenly ripped open. The grim barrel of a Type 99A main battle tank lowered, accompanied by the fury of the autocannons on both sides. A dense hail of bullets filled the air. The hunters were shredded into a mist of blood before they could even scream. The sheer, overwhelming firepower left the survivors of the convoy completely stunned. This is a pre-war regular army unit. 10 minutes later, the Falcon search team was disarmed. They stared greedily at my base, at the abundant electricity and clean water. Drink up. Lei Long tossed them a bottle of water. The burly man gulped it down in one go. Lei Long loomed over him like a steel tower. Talk. Which unit are you from? What are you doing here? And why was that tail following you? My name is Wang Meng. I'm the deputy captain of the lighthouse camp's security team. We were ordered to come out and scout. We heard the Black Steel group was wiped out. Our leader sent us to see what kind of gods had taken over this place. I didn't expect to find actual gods. Cut the crap. Lei Long pointed a finger at him. Get to the point. What was the deal with those hunters just now? Fear crawled back onto his face. A beast tide. The mountains to the west have exploded. I don't know why, but the mutant beasts that usually hide deep in the mountains suddenly all came charging out. It's not just hunters. There are behemoths too. Some people even saw dragons in the sky. Dragons. I suddenly spoke up and stepped forward. Lei Long took a half step back with practiced precision. This subtle shift in hierarchy made Wang Meng's heart tremble. They're carrion wyverns. Su Wan walked toward Lin Han, holding a tactical tablet. He's telling the truth. We just reconfirmed the signal source. The lighthouse camp is indeed surrounded. Those hunters chasing them were likely just scouts on the perimeter. Dr. Su, you're still alive? Wang Meng gasped. What? Are you that surprised? Captain Wang, when you kicked my father out of the lab back then, you were the one leading the mob to break down our door. Wang Meng averted his eyes. He didn't dare look directly at the woman, who clearly held all the cards now. I stared at him coldly, evaluating a deal that could potentially double my current strength. Save the nostalgia for later. So, you guys escaped? You could call it a breakout. Before the camp was fully surrounded, the leader sent several convoys to break out in different directions to find help. We were lucky enough to get out, but those beasts picked up our scent and chased us all the way here. Commander! Wang Meng suddenly dropped to the ground. He stayed on his knees, refusing to get up. Please, I beg you, save the lighthouse. There are over 3,000 people there. The leader and his inner circle are scum. I know, but the survivors at the bottom are innocent. And the camp has so much equipment, so much data. If the beast tide breaks through, it'll all be gone. 3,000 people. I glanced at Lei Long and Su Wan. 3,000 laborers, plus the equipment and colleagues that Dr. Su is so concerned about. This is a deal worth making. Agreed. This is indeed a profitable venture. Director Zhao Jianguo approached, flanked by a group of staff officers. He gave a slight nod. Director Zhao. Lei Long and the others snapped into a salute. The staff department has already conducted an assessment. The personnel and equipment at the lighthouse camp are exactly what we need right now. Lei Long, I approve your request for combat. Take the armor. Coordinate with 2 mechanized infantry companies and bring them back. Remember, we want the people and the equipment, not a pile of rubble. Minimize collateral damage as much as possible. Sir, mission will be accomplished. Battle intent flared in Lei Long's eyes as he barked into his comms. All units, level 1 combat readiness. The garage doors groaned open. 10 Type 99 and main battle tanks rumbled out, crushing the pavement. The shockwaves they kicked up made the very earth tremble. Wang Meng remained prostrated on the ground, weeping uncontrollably, as he witnessed the arrival of the apocalypse's most brutal terminators. Forward Base 01. The thick scent of military diesel hung heavy in the air. To a wasteland dweller like Wang Meng, this was the most expensive fragrance in the world. I watched him huddle in the corner like a total amateur. Over a dozen fuel tankers were pumping high-grade golden fuel, roughly into the tanks of those steel behemoths. The sight of even a few stray drops made him wince with physical pain. In this wasteland, where even low-quality biodiesel is rationed by the drop, the way my soldiers casually handled half-drums of gasoline was a violent assault on his entire worldview. What a waste. This is too much luxury. He muttered to himself, dazed. Is this what true power looks like? Wang Meng, stop daydreaming. Get in. The window of a warrior assault vehicle rolled down. Lei Long looked down at him coldly through tactical sunglasses. You're leading the way. Get in the lead car. Yes, sir. Wang Meng snapped to attention and scrambled into the armored vehicle. All units, listen up. Lei Long's deep voice cut through the global channel. Target, due west. Lighthouse camp. Distance, 25 kilometers. Operation, Daybreak. Move out. The earth shook. 10 Type 99A tanks led the charge, with 20 Type 04 infantry fighting vehicles guarding the flanks. I sat inside the command vehicle, watching this Iron Dragon spew black smoke as it rolled out of the base gates. 12 years of apocalyptic ruins had left the streets completely blocked, but my armored flood didn't need to take detours. Roadblock ahead. Approximately 50 abandoned cars blocking the intersection. The lead observer gave a crisp report. Roll over them. Lei Long gave the order. Copy that. The 1,500 horsepower engines let out a roar. The tanks, weighing dozens of tons, acted like massive bulldozers. They ground forward, and the abandoned cars were flattened into twisted sheets of metal beneath the treads. They literally carved a path through the wreckage. The violent noise instantly shattered the silence of the dead city. Thousands of zombies began to sway from both sides. They swarmed out like a black tide, lunging straight for the convoy. Sir, a horde. It's a zombie horde. Wang Meng's panic scream erupted over the comms. Stop the cars. We need to use the buildings for cover. What are you panicking for? Suwon, who was in the same car, looked at her tablet. Her voice as cold as ice. Just watch. We don't even need the main guns. The 30mm autocannons and heavy machine guns on the IFVs instantly unleashed a storm of death. A wall of fire. The charging horde was mowed down like wheat in a field. Large caliber rounds blew the approaching rotters apart. The treads rolled ruthlessly over the piles of flesh. The sound of bones snapping was enough to make anyone's skin crawl. The swarm was turned into a bloody pulp beneath the steamroller. That's it? It's over? Wang Meng sat back, stunned. 12 years of his calculated survival mindset had just collapsed. This is the difference, Wang Meng. Suwon looked out at the long, bloody tracks left behind. We used to be surviving, but they are conquering. 2 hours later, I sat in the command vehicle. As the convoy sped westward, the smell of gunpowder in the air grew thicker. Tracer rounds tore through the distant sky. We're here. Wang Meng pointed at the ruins of the fortress built into the mountainside, his voice trembling with terror. That's the lighthouse. The situation was far more gruesome than imagined. The reinforced high-voltage walls had been breached. A dense swarm of mutant beasts was frantically pouring into the camp. The massive bodies of behemoths were slamming with all their might against the defenders' crumbling lines. Looks like we arrived just in time. I lowered my binoculars coldly and pressed the global tactical comms. All units, exit march mode. Switch to combat formation. Target, the beast tied ahead. Leave none alive. Fire. The 125mm smoothbore guns of the 10 Type 99A tanks roared in unison. The barrels pointed in perfect synchronization toward the dark swarm. This was a greeting from the peak of human industrial civilization. Boom! The interior of the lighthouse camp had become a purgatory. Through the drone footage and intercepted communication frequencies, the desperate screams from inside were crystal clear. We can't hold them. The east wall has collapsed. The hunters are inside. Where are the machine guns? Why aren't they firing? We're out of ammo. The last crate was emptied 5 minutes ago. On the rooftop of the command post, the camp leader, Zhou Cheng, stared at the tide of beasts as they slaughtered the survivors. His knuckles were white from gripping his empty pistol too hard. It's over, he whispered to himself. In his field of vision, thousands of mutants were drowning the defense line. With a deafening crash, the final iron gate was smashed down by a behemoth. It's over. The monsters are in. Screams of despair and collapse echoed from every direction. Hunters were tearing out the throats of the guards at will. Zhou Cheng gave a bitter laugh. If I hadn't driven him away for that equipment back then, maybe. A massive mutant beast stepped over the corpses and lunged toward him. He closed his eyes tight, raising his empty pistol, waiting for the end. A 125mm high-explosive shell suddenly detonated at the foot of the mountain. The behemoth, along with the despair in front of Zhou Cheng, was instantly vaporized into a cloud of burning gore and shattered bone. The earth-shattering explosion drowned out all the sounds of carnage. What What is this? He opened his eyes in terror. 10 Type 99 A main battle tanks in desert camo, and 20 IFVs were crushing the ruins, entering the battlefield like a mobile steel fortress. The tracers from the 30mm autocannons became the scythes of the Grim Reaper, precisely carving bloody furrows through the beast tide. Any hunters that tried to counterattack were blown to bits in midair by machine gun fire. This wasn't a battle. This was a total dimensional strike. Thermal imaging locked on, fire control radars adjusted. The tide that was once enough to wipe out the entire camp, under the blanket of modern firepower, was completely erased in just 10 minutes, leaving behind only scorched earth and the pungent smell of smoke. Zhou Cheng's legs gave out. His pistol fell with a clatter. He stared blankly at the tanks, at the red flags fluttering on the turrets, and suddenly broke down in tears. The regular army. It's the regular army. The country hasn't forgotten us. They've come to save us. The guns fell silent. Wearing a black lightweight protective suit, I stepped out of the warrior assault vehicle. I walked past the pools of filth and shredded meat. The nausea of the slaughterhouse was completely suppressed by the cold, iron presence of the armored flood behind me. I took the megaphone. My cold voice echoed through the silent, deathly camp. This is the Heartfire Rescue Team. I am Lin Han. On behalf of the Heartfire Rescue Team, we are taking control of this area. I looked up. My gaze pierced through the smoke and locked onto the trembling Zhou Cheng on the rooftop. Leader Zhou, aren't you coming down to greet your savior? Special forces quickly secured all key points. In this apocalypse where life is cheap, their cold weapons and hazmat suits looked like divine salvation to the refugees, flanked by a squad of armed guards. I entered the camp's main building. This once luxurious mountainside villa was now filled with the stench of cheap sweat and stagnant rot. The floor was covered with wounded people who looked like living corpses. But when they saw the woman beside me, wearing a pristine, snow-white research uniform, the hall fell into a pin-drop silence. Dr. Su? On a stretcher in the corner, the man who had once abandoned Su Wan during the power struggle, trembled, his leg missing. He groaned in shame and pulled a dark blanket over himself. Zhou Cheng, with his arm in a sling, looked both devastated and awkward. 3 days ago, he had driven Su Wan out like a stray dog. Today, she returned looking down on him, backed by a force that could level the entire camp, an armed force. Su Wan. Zhou Cheng's voice was dry and hollow. You're back. Su Wan didn't even give him a glance. That total disregard was more painful than any insult. The air quality here is terrible. Is the ventilation system broken? She frowned, and immediately gave orders to the elite medical team, standing behind her. Establish an isolation zone first. Prioritize the critically wounded. Also, the hygiene here is abysmal. Perform a full decontamination immediately. I don't want to see any cross-infections. Yes, Dr. Su. She walked over to her former assistant, who was sobbing. Her tone was purely, coldly rational. Xiaolu, if your leg wound isn't treated immediately, it'll go necrotic. Move him to the medical zone and prep for debridement surgery. Zhou Cheng stood frozen. This woman, from beginning to end, only cared about truth and life. His masterful struggle for camp dominance, in her eyes, was nothing more than a pathetic squabble in a mud pit. Dr. Su, he desperately wanted to reclaim some dignity. Leader Zhou, I cut him off. I stepped forward, creating an insurmountable gap of authority. Save the small talk for later. I pointed at the skeletal refugees around us. The priority right now is food. I simply waved my hand. Several burly soldiers carried heavy thermal containers and slammed them onto the ground. Clang! The loud noise knocked the lids open. The hot, seductive aroma of rice congee and the rich, fatty scent of braised pork instantly hit like a bombshell, violently drowning out the smell of blood in the room. The sound of people gulping rose in a chilling, rhythmic wave across the entire hall. No one can resist their instincts when faced with white rice and real meat. To celebrate the lighthouse camp's survival, and to celebrate Dr. Su's homecoming, I threw my command out like a grand gesture of mercy. Tonight, we have an unlimited supply of century egg, pork congee, and canned braised pork. Eat your fill. A wild cheer nearly took the roof off. Thank you, Commander. Thank you, Dr. Su. I watched Zhou Cheng quietly. His pathetic authority was crumbling along with every bowl of hot congee. No need to look so depressed, Leader Zhou. I walked up to him and pulled out a fresh, premium cigarette. Click. I lit it for him. We aren't bandits. We're here to cooperate. I have food. You have technology. You aren't losing out on this deal. He bit down hard on the filter and took a deep drag. The smoke filled his lungs, and the heavy nicotine hit finally numbed his nerves. He looked at the refugees scrambling for food, and then at the spotless Su Wan. He gave a bitter, resigned nod. Let's cooperate. His voice was exhausted and hollow. Commander, what is it you're after? Just take it, as long as you let us live. As long as we can live like human beings again. I want more than just living. I leaned in close, every word hitting like a drumbeat. I want to rebuild civilization, and the technology in your lighthouse camp is one of the cornerstones of that reconstruction. Follow me, and you'll no longer be rats hiding in a hole. You'll be the engineers of a new world. Those last few words struck his extinguished ambition. Like a bolt of lightning, Zhou Cheng's body trembled. Take me to see it. Leader Zhou. I pointed toward the underground entrance to the P4 lab. Let me see what kind of goodies you've been hiding, that Su Wan couldn't stop thinking about, and that the Black Steel Group wanted so badly. He gritted his teeth and crushed the cigarette butt under his heel. Please, follow me. Zhou Cheng seemed to find a bit of his backbone again. We might not be good at fighting, but when it comes to scientific research, the lighthouse camp does have some real assets. Some of these things, even before the war, were top secret. After passing through 3 heavy blast doors, the stench of the apocalypse vanished, replaced by the faint scent of ozone. This is the Yuan Haitian Biotech Research Institute's P4 laboratory. It's the final stronghold of the lighthouse camp. Please. Zhu Cheng entered the biometric code. The alloy doors slid open. Under the dim emergency lights, rows of precision instruments and cultivation tanks were revealed. This is our core asset, Zhou Cheng pointed to the black, full-body armor in the center of the lab, the Titan exoskeleton prototype, and its accompanying third-generation neural link system. I studied the steel monster through my visor. It was covered in rugged hydraulic lines, exuding a cold, industrial beauty. This was the 4th-generation individual combat system that the army originally planned to deploy. Zhu Cheng explained, it can give an ordinary soldier the strength to lift a car, a running speed of 60 kilometers per hour, and the ability to withstand direct hits from 12.7mm machine guns. Impressive. I gave an honest assessment. Too bad it's just a pile of scrap metal. Su Wan skillfully pulled up the console data and threw a bucket of cold water on the mood. Because there's no compatible high-energy battery. Right now, it can only take a few steps in the lab while plugged into a cable. The moment you unplug it, it's just a several hundred-pound iron coffin. Zhu Cheng paused for a moment. He walked over to his safe at random. You're right. Energy is indeed our biggest hurdle. He pulled out a black case. That's why this is the real treasure. A high-density solid-state hydrogen battery core. His eyes burned with a fanatical light. This was the top-secret project of the Haitian City Energy Research Institute. Its energy density is 50 times that of a traditional lithium battery. Theoretically, just one of these cells could keep a Titan fighting at full power for 6 hours. 50 times. My pupils constricted. This means the industrial logic of the real world is about to be completely overturned. But Su Wan twisted the knife. You can't actually manufacture them. That's true. We can't. Zhu Cheng admitted bitterly. This thing has extreme environmental requirements. It needs a dust-free, vacuum-sealed production line, and an incredibly stable, massive power supply. It also requires a complete rare metal refining, industrial chain. In this wasteland world, even finding a single high-quality screw is a struggle, let alone this crown jewel of industry. Zhu Cheng looked at me. His gaze held a desperate, testing hope. I smiled. These harsh conditions he couldn't meet in the ruins were child's play for the nation standing behind me. They were the ultimate professionals. Mr. Lin Han, you possess resources beyond our imagination, and even some kind of miraculous transport channel. He had clearly guessed something. I'm willing to hand over everything here, the blueprints, the samples, the data, even all the researchers under my command. Zhou Cheng took a deep breath. In exchange, I want to retain administrative rights over the lighthouse camp survivors. Of course, nominally, we would be a subsidiary under your command. So, you want to be a local warlord? I interrupted him with a half-smile. I just want to find a way for the brothers who followed me to survive in this chaotic world, and to keep a little dignity for myself. After all, even before the war, this technology was worth a fortune. I walked a circle around the Titan. The sound of my knuckles rapping against the alloy echoed through the lab. Chief Zhou, I think you've misunderstood something. I stopped and looked him dead in the eye. In a business negotiation, the value of an asset isn't just determined by the asset itself. It depends on who the buyer is, and whether the seller even has the right to say no. I pointed at the battery. In your hands. This thing can only be used to light a few light bulbs or serve as an expensive brick. It won't help you fend off the beast tide. Instead, it'll just attract vultures like the Black Steel Group. But in my hands, I raised my voice slightly. I have a complete industrial system. I have tens of thousands of engineers. I have an endless supply of raw materials. Those industrial barriers that haunt you, to me, they're just the cost of the electricity to start the machines. I can turn this into a mass-produced commodity, into a shield that protects humanity, into a light that pierces the darkness. You call it a treasure, but in your hands, it's just a death warrant. As for those administrative rights, Chief Zhou, do you really think those survivors who just tasted braised pork would rather keep eating dirt and weeds with you, or follow me and eat meat every single meal? Zhou Cheng's face went pale. Loyalty is a fickle thing. I'd already bought their hearts with a few pots of porridge, so this isn't a negotiation at all. I took the battery from his hand. This is an acquisition, a total bankruptcy liquidation. I'll give you 2 choices. Take your dignity and leave this place. Go outside and try to reason with the zombies. Second, merge unconditionally into Base 01. You can join our logistics or personnel department. You'll lose your title as chief, but you'll have clean water to drink, hot food to eat, and a safe bed to sleep in. Hell, if you perform well, I might even give you a well-equipped squad that actually belongs to you, so you can fulfill your dream of protecting survivors. The hall fell into a dead silence, save for the hum of the servers. I'll take the second option. He hung his head, looking as if he'd used up every ounce of his strength. A wise choice. I casually tossed the battery to Su Wan. Dr. Su, this is yours now. Get the data organized as quickly as possible. We're taking all of this home. Through the cross-dimensional communication link, Professor Chen Guofeng at the Chinese Academy of Sciences was nearly losing his mind on the other side of the screen. Genius. This concept is pure genius. What's the verdict, Professor Chen? I asked for his thoughts. Lin Han, do you have any idea what this means? Professor Chen pointed at the structural diagram. his voice trembling. Before this battery appeared, humanity's energy storage technology was essentially still in the Stone Age. Whether it's lithium or graphene, they fundamentally couldn't break the limits of chemical energy. But this battery, it uses a unique crystal structure to solidify hydrogen atoms into a metallic, titanium-like state within the lattice. This isn't just a battery. This is practically a miniature safe hydrogen bomb energy well. Its energy density reaches a staggering 5,000. Do you understand what that means? The best military-grade lithium batteries we have now are only around 300. This is over 10 times more powerful than anything in existence. Didn't Zhou Cheng say it was 50 times? He was probably comparing it to their old energy systems from before the apocalypse. Or maybe that's just the theoretical limit. Professor Chen waved it off. But even at 10 times the current capacity, it's enough to change the world. Think about it. An electric car with a 500-kilometer range would suddenly have a range of 8,000 kilometers. It would last longer than a gas-powered car. More importantly, it solves our biggest pain point, the miniaturization of high-energy weapons. You mean the exoskeletons? Not just exoskeletons. Professor Chen was ecstatic. We're talking electromagnetic railguns, high-energy laser weapons. The only reason we couldn't deploy these before was because they required a massive generator to be hauled around. But now, with a battery the size of a brick, it's enough to sustain a high-intensity urban battle. Lin Han, you didn't just bring back a battery, you brought back the key to the door of future warfare. My heart raced with excitement. This is exactly why the double-cross door exists. What about mass production? No problem, Professor Chen answered instantly. Vacuum and dust-free? We have stable power. We have the national grid. Rare earth elements? The State Reserve Bureau's warehouses are overflowing with them. Once we figure out the principles and the catalyst formula, give me 3 months, no, 1 month, and I'll have the first batch of domestically produced samples. I nodded firmly. Then I'll leave it in your hands. After disconnecting the call, Su Wan was still busy. I looked at her. Looks like you came with a very generous dowry. Don't get excited too early. The battery is just the power source. The real treasure is this. She pointed at the Titan being dismantled. Did you think an exoskeleton was just a few steel plates and some motors? Massive amounts of code flowed across the screen. This is the crystallization of an entire industrial system. Su Wan's eyes sparkled. To drive this beast, the scientists of Haishan City developed a matching carbon-based chip architecture. Its computing power is 10 times that of current silicon chips, and the power consumption is incredibly low to make it move as fluidly as a human limb. They wrote a 3rd-generation neuromorphic AI. This is the true prototype of artificial intelligence. And then there's this holographic tactical eyepiece. It requires more than just microprojection technology. It needs real-time battlefield situational awareness algorithms. All this code is just sitting there on the server's hard drives. I realized then, I was bringing back an entire military-industrial supply chain. Then we're moving every piece of equipment and every person back. I waved my hand dismissively. If we can't make it here in Haishan, then we'll make it in our world. And if our world lacks the means, we'll mine and refine the materials right here, then take them back to manufacture. With both worlds complementing each other, there's nothing we can't handle. Li Jian stepped into the lab at that moment. Commander, the relocation has already begun. After reporting the progress, his expression turned serious. However, while clearing out the Lighthouse Camp's warehouse, we discovered something else. A large stash of sealed medicine. No. 2. Li Jian's brow furrowed. It's that enhancement drug from the Black Steel Group. Even though Zhou Cheng didn't use it on a large scale, it seems he was secretly conducting experiments to improve it. I looked towards Su Wan. Su Wan, I'm leaving this to you. I understand, Su Wan nodded. I'll analyze its components. If we can eliminate the side effects, it might become our trump card against high-level mutant entities, and if we can't, then destroy it. I replied coldly. We don't need to create a bunch of short-lived monsters just to defend our home. Understood. I stood up and straightened my collar. Acquiring this battery technology means that electromagnetic weapons in the real world can finally be put on the agenda. Let's go. It's time to check out our new gear, and while we're at it, we should prepare a big gift for the Black Steel Group. Inside the Lighthouse Camp, my team moved like a precision army, carrying out a highly constructive relocation. Handle that microscope gently. That's a vintage Zeiss from Germany. For those server racks, pull the hard drives first. Watch out for static. Pack up all these Petri dishes. Don't worry about whether they're useful or not. Professor Chen said that even if it's trash, we're taking it back for analysis. Dozens of engineers in exoskeleton worked under Su Wan's direction. We're stripping the place with professional precision. They didn't even spare the whiteboards on the walls. Commander Lin. Zhou Cheng stood to the side, watching even the emergency lights in the hallway being taken down. His lip couldn't stop twitching. Are you taking the lights too? I took a sip of water. My tone was matter of fact. Those are long-lasting nuclear-powered lights. The tech is a bit old, but they're incredibly useful in the field. Chief Zhou, waste is a sin. Zhou Cheng fell into a state of total, speechless defeat. He finally witnessed the true nature of our deep-seated hoarder mentality. 2 hours later, the heavy convoy rolled out of the ruins. Survivors pressed their faces against the windows of the modified buses. Their eyes were filled with anxiety. Where are they taking us? I don't know. I heard it's some place called Base 01. I just hope we get a hot meal. When the high walls and brightly lit Base 01 burst into their field of vision, the bus cabins erupted in muffled gasps. Oh my god, they have electricity. Are those searchlights? Aren't they afraid of attracting zombies? Look! Those are vegetable greenhouses. What greeted them wasn't the barrel of a gun, but the aroma of food. Everyone out. Follow the instructions for decontamination first. Once they'd washed away 12 years of radioactive dust, changed into clean training uniforms, and held steaming white buns with braised pork and potato stew, the psychological defenses of these wastelanders completely collapsed. It's meat. It's real meat. I thought I'd never taste white flour again in my life. Mom, this water is sweet. Zhou Cheng sat in a corner with his tray, watching his men devour their food, and seeing the clear, hopeful eyes of the people in our base. He'd lost. He picked up a piece of braised pork. He swallowed his ambition along with the meat. He was utterly defeated. In the base command center, I listened to reports in front of the monitors. The integration is going smoothly, the adjutant reported to Zhao Jianguo. After preliminary screening, the percentage of researchers among these survivors is very high. There are 35 experts with senior titles, over 120 mid-level engineers, and nearly 200 skilled technicians. Specifically, the biology and mechanical engineering experts that we were so short on are all here. They're all treasures. Excellent. Zhao Jianguo nodded. Notify Dr. Su. Get them into their work positions as soon as possible, especially those electronics guys. Have them coordinate with Professor Chen. First, they need to fully digest the data from that server. Yes, sir. Oh, and Commander. Li Zhan's expression suddenly turned grave. The scouts responsible for the outer perimeter just reported that on the convoy's way back, they felt the ground vibrating. Vibrations? Was it caused by the tanks? No. The frequency was very low, and it came from deep underground, like something massive was turning over. My heart skipped a beat. I pulled up the digital map. Directly beneath the city center lies the legendary Mother Nest. Did this relocation wake it up? Increase the alert level. Zhao Jianguo ordered in a low voice. Turn the radar to full power. Double the drone patrol range. If anything unusual is found, sound the level 1 combat alarm immediately. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, in the real world, inside a top-secret underground command center in Beijing, a bloodshot-eyed Professor Chen stood with a black briefcase before a group of high-ranking officials whose decisions could shake the international landscape. Chief, leaders, after 48 hours of cross-verification by 3 separate teams from the Academy of Sciences, I can now responsibly report to the organization that we have obtained the key to the future. In the silence, an elder sitting at the head of the table spoke slowly. Professor Chen, you are a hero of the state and a titan of the scientific community. What we need are facts and data, not adjectives. Yes, sir. Chen Guofeng straightened his back and lit up the screen. This is Sample 01. The solid-state gold battery that Comrade Lin Han brought back from the lighthouse camp. An energy density of 5,000. This isn't just a number. It means if we put this in a submarine, our conventional subs could have unlimited submerged endurance. Just like nuclear submarines, if we put it in a tank, our armored divisions will no longer need to be followed by fuel trucks. If we put it in a drone, our swarms could circle the globe 3 times without landing. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The screen changed. This is the carbon-based chip architecture that Dr. Su Won organized and transmitted back. Although we don't have the lithography machines to produce it yet, its design philosophy is 2 full generations ahead of our current silicon-based chips. If we can master this, the chip stranglehold the West has held over us for 30 years will be a thing of the past. Then there's the neuromorphic control algorithms for the exoskeleton and the underlying logic for holographic imaging. The entire conference room erupted in excitement. Has this been verified? The elder tapped the table. It has. We used that battery to try and power a high-energy laser in the lab. It easily burned through 10 layers of tank armor, and the battery level only dropped by less than 1%. The elder looked at Zhao Jianguo on the video feed. Zhao Jianguo, what are Comrade Lin Han's thoughts? Reporting to the chief, Zhao Jianguo replied solemnly. Comrade Lin Han's stance is clear. He is handing it all over to the state. He only made one request. He hopes the nation can use these technologies to build up combat strength as quickly as possible to support the other world, because the threats over there might be far beyond our imagination. The elder scanned the room. Comrades, fortune knocks but once. If we don't seize what heaven has given us, we will be punished. Since that boy has placed this immense fortune into our hands, then we must not only accept it, but also forge it into a sword to defend the rejuvenation of the Huaxia nation. I propose the establishment of the Kunlun Technology Group as a cover for civil-military integration. Comrade Chen Guofeng will lead it. We will mobilize the entire nation's strength to focus on reverse engineering the technology from the other world. Second, raise the secrecy level of the Spark project to the highest possible grade. Aside from those in this room and direct participants, anyone attempting to pry for information will be charged with treason. Third, I approve the deployment of additional engineering corps and special operations brigades to Base 01. Comrade Lin Han is right. We need to make the 2 worlds complementary. Experiments that can't be done on Earth will be done over there. Whatever resources they lack, we provide. If they need people, we give people. If they need money, we give money. If they need guns, we give guns. The elder suddenly stood up. This time, we're going to show the world what Huaxia speed really means. Across the ocean, at the headquarters of a certain intelligence agency. Sir, something is wrong. What is it? The energy, network, and logistics systems of that eastern nation have recently shown some unexplainable fluctuations. They've mobilized a massive amount of strategic materials, special alloys, rare earths, high-grade cement, even some mothballed military equipment. But these materials aren't flowing toward any known national-level key projects. They aren't building aircraft carriers, and they aren't going to the northwest launch bases. Their destination is very vague. They seem to be converging on a coastal city in the south. But after that, it's like a needle in the ocean. We lose track of them. Furthermore, the civilian power grid load in that area hasn't increased significantly. Instead, the encrypted traffic on certain military fiber optic cables has surged by 300%. Strange. The supervisor narrowed his eyes. This silent, large-scale mobilization gave him an extremely dangerous feeling. Could it be? Are they building some secret underground defense works? Or developing some kind of new weapon that requires massive resources? Whatever they're up to, keep a close eye on them. The supervisor set down his coffee cup. His tone was icy. Activate our deep cover sleepers over there. Tell them, at any cost, even if they can only get a scrap of paper. I want to know exactly what the Chinese are hiding. Half a month later, in the Haiban City High-Tech Development Zone, a large industrial park that had been stalled for 6 months due to a broken capital chain was completely brought back to life within these 2 weeks. Late at night, countless military-plated trucks roared inside. Armed police with live ammunition cordoned off the intersection. The park was even upgraded to a temporary no-fly zone. And in front of the central office building, workers had just hung a brand new plaque, Kunlun Technology Co., Limited, no ribbon cutting, no media. This company, destined to change the global landscape, was established in eerie low profile on the top floor of the office building. As the executive director of the Kunlun project, Li Mo was watching the busy scene below. The coffee in his hand had already gone cold. Director Li, a young secretary carrying a thick stack of documents, pushed the door open. The first batch of raw materials has been inventoried. 300 tons of special titanium alloy, 50 tons of high-purity graphene, and the rare earth permanent magnet materials, urgently diverted from the State Reserve Bureau, are all in place. What about the production lines? Li Mo turned around. His eyes were sharp despite the lack of sleep. They're running at full capacity. Following Professor Chen's blueprints, we modified 3 automated robotic arm production lines overnight. Line 1. Line 1 is in charge of the Kunlun exoskeleton's hydraulic joints. Line 2 handles the precision casting of the load-bearing frames. Line 3 is responsible for the core energy transmission modules. We expect the first batch of qualified parts to be ready in 24 hours. Li Mo nodded, pointing to the red secure phone on the desk. Just now, 3 more suppliers called to fish for information. They wanted to know what exactly we're building and why our material purity requirements are so insane. Tell the procurement department that if anyone dares to ask another question, kick them off the supplier list immediately. Blacklist them permanently. Also, notify the security department to raise the park's security clearance by another level. Yes, sir. Li Mo rubbed his temples. Half a month ago, he was still stressing over research funding. Now, a single signature moves hundreds of millions. He could divert entire trainloads of supplies. This kind of power was intoxicating, but it also filled him with awe. That Project 01, he whispered to himself. Where the hell did it come from? As part of the execution layer, he didn't have the clearance to know. The Twin Gates only gave orders, produce the highest quality parts at any cost, then ship them through the Green Channel. The secretary returned once more, lowering her voice. A shipment of special equipment has arrived. It was airlifted directly from the CAS Institute of Biology. 2 heavily armed special agents are escorting it. They specified it must be delivered to the special warehouse. Li Mo stood up abruptly. The special warehouse was the ultimate destination for the most mysterious materials. Let them in. Chen Xing, pass down my order. From now on, any vehicle heading to that warehouse gets the Green Channel for inspections. No one is to obstruct them, no one is to inspect them, and no records are to be kept. Understood. At the Project 01 forward base, after the personnel and equipment from the lighthouse camp fully integrated, the once cold military base took on a more lively, scientific atmosphere. The second basement level had been converted into a comprehensive lab. Brilliant. Simply brilliant. Inside the biolab, Professor Zhang, a titan from the CAS Institute of Biology, held the test results and praised Su Wan. Dr. Su, under such scarce resource conditions, you actually thought of using mutant plant extracts to stabilize the active structure of the C virus. This line of thinking is a stroke of genius. We spent our whole lives in sterile labs, back on Earth, always thinking about how to kill the virus, but we never thought about utilizing its energy properties. This discovery of yours might just rewrite the history of human immunology. Su Wan wiped the sweat from her forehead. Honestly, I was forced into it. Back then, we didn't have any cryogenic storage. Virus samples would die within 3 hours of leaving a host. I tried everything I had on hand and finally discovered that the sap from these ghost-faced begonias growing in the ruins could actually put the virus into a dormant state. This is what happens when practical experience meets true insight. Another physicist stared at the glowing energy core in his hand. And this core, we originally thought it was just some kind of biological stone. Who would have thought? It's actually a high-density energy aggregate. This energy structure completely defies the existing laws of thermodynamics. It's as if the laws of physics are looser here. I leaned against the doorframe, watching this harmonious scene. The chemical reaction between the bizarre materials of this world and Earth's deep industrial foundation was definitely more than just 1 + 1 = 2. Commander, Li Jian appeared, smelling strongly of engine oil. The first batch of Kunlun exoskeleton parts from the real world has arrived. Our engineers are assembling them now. Do you want to take a look? Let's go. I walked quickly to the equipment workshop on the first floor. It had been turned into a miniature munitions factory. A dozen mechanics were busy working around 3 silver-gray mechs. Compared to the clunky Titan prototypes from the Lighthouse camp, these 3 Kunlun Type A exoskeletons were practically works of art. Streamlined titanium alloy armor, bionic hydraulic structures, and on the back, Professor Chen's miniaturized solid-state hydrogen battery packs. This is the Kunlun. Li Jian stroked the cold armor. Total weight is 35 kilograms, with a maximum load capacity of 150 kilograms. It can hit a 100-meter sprint in 12 seconds. Plus, it integrates the latest fire control assistance system. Even a raw recruit wearing this could easily suppress the recoil of a heavy machine gun. This is what you call a total outclassing. I nodded in satisfaction. Equip the in-squad first. I have a feeling this piece won't last much longer. The walkie-talkie at my waist chirped. Lin Han, come to the P3 lab. Su Wan couldn't hide her excitement. We finished it. Li Jian and I exchanged a look. Looks like today is a good day. I patted his shoulder. Let's go see what kind of surprise Dr. Su has prepared for us. Inside the P3 biolab, Su Wan carefully took a metal tube out of the refrigerator. Inside was a pale blue serum. On the other side of the screen, Chen Guofeng and Zhao Jianguo looked solemn. This is the key. Su Wan held it up to the light. This tube combines the induction principles of medicine number 2 with the Ghostface Begonia inhibitor we just discovered, plus some pure energy extracted from the cores. How's the safety? Chen Guofeng asked. Theoretically, it's safe. Su Wan's expression was rigorous. The original medicine number 2 brute forced the human genetic limit, forcibly overdrawing one's life force. But this improved version, you can think of it as a gentle key. It doesn't force the genetic lock open. Instead, by supplying high-purity energy, it induces cells to self-repair and undergo minor enhancement. And the results? Zhao Jianguo was more concerned with combat. It's not as exaggerated as a berserk state, Su Wan evaluated. We expect it to increase an average person's strength and endurance by about 30% and reaction speed by 20%. Most importantly, it significantly boosts the immune system, creating a certain level of resistance to the C virus. In other words, a soldier injected with this serum, even if scratched by a zombie, has a high probability of not mutating, as long as they are treated within an hour. This is a strategic breakthrough. Chen Guofeng slammed the table in excitement. However, Su Wan's tone shifted. This is the first-generation prototype. After all, we need a volunteer for human clinical trials. I'll do it. I reached out my arm immediately. I'm the head of this base. It's my duty, no. Zhao Jianguo's voice cut me off sharply from the screen. Lin Han, you aren't just the base commander. You are the sole host of the Twin Gates. Your life belongs to the country, not just yourself. Don't try to be a hero. I pulled my hand back. Li Jian stepped forward and was about to take off his jacket when I stopped him. Not you either. I looked at him calmly. You're the special ops captain and the base's top combat commander. Until we're 100% sure it's safe, I can't gamble with your life. Then who? Li Jian frowned. Go to the prisoner camp. Bring that guy Jiang Hu here. Tell him there's a chance for him to reach the top in one leap. Ask him if he's brave enough to take it. I ordered over the comms. 5 minutes later, the former Black Steel shock trooper, Jiang Hu, stood in the lab, drenched in sweat. This medicine can make you stronger, but it can also kill you. I stared at him and got straight to the point. If it succeeds, you'll be a formal combatant of base 01 with double merit points. Your past will be wiped clean. If it fails, well, we'll give you a headstone. Jiang Hu's Adam's apple bobbed heavily. The massive temptation outweighed his fear. Commander, I'll do it. He steeled his heart and sat on the exam table. If I die, I'll come back as a hero in the next life. Begin. The cold needle pierced his vein. Halfway through the injection, Jiang Hu let out a blood-curdling scream. His muscles began to spasm violently, veins bulging, like writhing fire dragons. Heart rate 160. Blood pressure is off the charts. Su Wan clenched her fists. His physical foundation isn't as good as Li Jian's, so the reaction is more intense. Hold him down. The special ops soldiers pinned his limbs down firmly. He foamed at the mouth, struggling wildly. 10 minutes of agony felt like an eternity in hell. Finally, the twitching stopped. He slumped like a pile of wet clay, his skin glowing red, heart rate dropping, body temperature normal. Su Wan let out a long sigh of relief. It worked. Jiang Hu opened his eyes. The world had become exceptionally clear. The weakness from hunger was replaced by a surge of wild power. I feel. He sat up abruptly and instinctively clenched his fist. Crunch. The stainless steel handrail was crushed flat. Holy crap. He was stunned by his own strength. Strength increased by about 40%. Su Wan glanced at the data, probably because his initial baseline was lower. The margin of improvement is more pronounced. Very good. I looked at the dazed Jiang Hu. Congratulations. You won the gamble. From now on, you're a member of the Spark Special Ops Unit. Thank you, Commander. He knelt down in excitement, kowtowing hard. But right then, a violent tremor sent the beakers on the table crashing to the floor. The alarm wailed through the speakers in a frantic roar. Underground defense wall breached. Repeat. Underground defense wall breached. Something burrowed in. Damn it, it's right under the armory. My expression changed instantly. The armory is the lifeblood of this base. Looks like our guest couldn't wait. I grabbed the walkie-talkie. My eyes were cold. Li Jian, take your special ops team. Put on the new gear. Jiang Hu, since you took the benefits, it's time to earn them with your life. Yes, sir. Li Jian was radiating killing intent as he snapped on his helmet. Jiang Hu grabbed an entrenching tool, a fierce glint in his eyes. Don't worry, Commander. Anyone who touches our armory is getting their head ripped off. In the corridor outside the underground armory, the base of the reinforced defense wall had been torn open, leaving a hole 2 meters wide. From deep within the hole came the ear-grating sound of claws scraping against rock. Squad, listen up. Establish a fan-shaped defense line. Shields in front, firepower in the back. Li Jian, clad in the silver-gray Kunlun Type A, gave the orders calmly. This machine, a fusion of otherworldly energy and Earth's industry, exuded a terrifying sense of power. 12 special ops soldiers quickly sealed off the corridor, rifles locked onto the hole. I'm ready too. Jiang Hu, surging with the gene serum, was breathing heavily. In his hands, he held a massive 50-pound hydraulic cutter, yet he wielded it as easily as a wooden stick. Don't be reckless. Hold the blind spot on the right flank. Li Jian shot him a glance. Yes, sir. Jiang Hu swallowed hard. His primal instincts told him that whatever was in that hole was more dangerous than any zombie. Deep inside the tunnel, countless crimson dots lit up. Thermal imaging showed a massive high-energy biological signature. Count. 30. Contact in 3 seconds. 2 seconds. A dark shadow shot out like lightning, lunging straight for Li Jian at the front of the line. It was a lean, faceless monster, its hands mutated into massive bone claws. Hold. Wait until they're close. Li Jian roared, the exoskeleton dropping into a defensive stance. The claws slammed hard against Li Jian's crossed arms. The impact cracked the floor beneath him, but he didn't budge an inch. Is that all you've got? Get the hell off me. Full power. Li Jian's right fist shot out like a cannonball. With a sickening times crack, the monster's chest collapsed and it was sent flying back into the hole. Now, suppressive fire. A metal storm from 12 rifles instantly poured into the tunnel entrance. With the exoskeleton's assistance, they held the triggers down. Any night hunter that showed its head was shredded instantly. Die. One soldier fired one-handed, while reloading with the other. A few monsters managed to scramble onto the ceiling, trying to bypass the frontal fire. They're on the ceiling. Li Jian shouted. Leave them to me. Jiang Hu moved. He charged like a maddened bull, swinging the massive hydraulic cutter with a roar. The monster's head exploded in midair like a rotten watermelon. Another monster slashed a deep gash across Jiang Hu's bulletproof vest. Blood sprayed, but with his pain dulled by the serum, Jiang Hu grabbed the monster's head with his bare hand and crushed its spine with a single blow. Ha ha ha, this feels great. The battle lasted for 15 minutes, until no more shadows emerged from the hole. The gunfire gradually died down. Corpses were piled high, and black blood pooled around their ankles. Cease fire. Stay alert. Li Jian raised his fist. His armor was covered in claw marks. Cover me. Li Jian activated scan mode to examine the corpses. No sense of pain. Bone density is 3 times that of a normal zombie, and they seem to have lived underground for a long time. Their vision is atrophied, but their hearing and smell are incredibly sharp. There are hooks on their claws, perfect for digging. Those are night hunters. Suwon's voice came through the comms. I saw descriptions of them in the Black Steel database. They're the scout units for the Hive, specializing in tunneling and night raids. Their presence here means the Hive is locked onto our location. It means the main swarm isn't far behind. Li Jian looked into the bottomless hole. Seal the entrance. He gave the order decisively. Engineers, get the quick dry cement. I want this hole plugged tight. Also, plant vibration mines in the walls. If they dare to dig again, send them straight to hell. Yes, sir. I patched into the channel. Li Jian, how's it looking? Reporting. Commander. Li Jian flexed his armored arm. The equipment performance is excellent. Total domination. Aside from the cooling system getting a bit hot, under continuous high load, there are no issues. As for Jiang Hu, that guy's a natural-born soldier, tough and mean. He lacks technique, but he's a beast in a brawl. Good. I gave the order coldly from the command center. Clean up the battlefield. Dig out the energy cores, don't waste a single one. Tell everyone this was just the appetizer. The main course is still coming. The alarm had barely been cleared when a piercing air raid siren suddenly exploded over the base. This is command. Radar has detected a large number of high-speed targets outside the perimeter defense. Zhao Jingguo's grim voice came through. They're testing our fire net. Repeat, they are testing us. As panic began to spread, the lighthouse survivors who had just joined the base fell into a total breakdown. It's those monsters. They followed us. The walls won't stop them. They can climb. They can dig. Shut up. A guard barked. Everyone stay where you are. Don't move. This is base 01, not that piece of shit camp of yours. Searchlights swept frantically across the outer ruins. Dozens of agile shadows dodged the light, using tactical maneuvers to find a breach. Report. Enemy contact at Sector C, Post 3. They're too fast to lock on. Report. Digging detected under the Sector D wall. They're trying to break through there. Inside the command center, Zhao Jingguo let out a cold laugh. First, They use underground digging to distract our main force, then they use ground troops to test our air defense, blind spots, and reaction speed. These aren't just beasts. This is an army. Su Wan's face was pale. They have a unified brain. These night hunters are just its eyes and limbs. If we don't crush them in one go, they'll keep sending waves to die until they've figured out all our cards. They want to see our cards? A cruel smile curled on Zhao Jianguo's lips. Then let's show them what a real trump card looks like. He grabbed the comms. Lei Long, activate the perimeter, sawtooth system. Fire 5 flares. Light up the sky. Then, let the land shield warm up. Yes, sir. 5 flares instantly turned the night into day. The night hunters closing in on the walls, and the carrion wyverns in the air had nowhere to hide. The base's massive turrets shed their camouflage. The latest short-range air defense missile system, the Land Shield 3000, made its debut. An 11-barrel, 30mm rotary cannon. Firing rate, 11,000 rounds per minute. Radar locked. Fire control solution complete. Die. Lei Long slammed the fire button. A high-density stream of armor-piercing shells, forming a brilliant trail of fire, swept across the field like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. The carrion wyvern in midair didn't even have time to scream. It was blown into a mess of shredded meat within 5 seconds. The stream of fire pressed down, a terrifying rate of fire at 180 rounds per second, ground the night hunters on the ground, along with their cover, into nothing but dust. After just 5 seconds of strafing, all the scouting monsters had vanished, leaving behind only a field of meat paste. The gunfire ceased. The survivors stood there, mouths agape, stunned by this godlike display of power. Is it over? A guard from the lighthouse camp asked, his face full of terror. We used to lose several brothers just to kill one of those things. We couldn't even scratch that wyvern's hide, and they did it in 5 seconds. This is the gap between us. A veteran patted him on the shoulder with pride. This is what we call integrated firepower. By the time the radar spots you, you're already a dead man. Here, if a problem can be solved with ammo, we never throw away lives for it. You'll get used to it. Inside the command center, target elimination confirmed. Radar shows no high-energy signatures in the area. They've retreated. Su Wan stared at the screen. The Hive has cut its connection with these scouts. It has already gathered the information it wanted. A ground assault isn't viable. Neither is an aerial ambush. So, it'll be forced to change its approach. Zhao Jianguo gazed deeply into the night sky. Tell everyone not to let their guard down. Since the scouting is over, there's a high probability it will launch a full-scale wave next. Li Zhan, have your special ops team take this time to rest and refit. Also, those essence cores Dr. Su just extracted. Give priority to Zhang Hu and his group. We need more enhanced soldiers. The next one will be the true decisive battle. Half a month later, Kunlun Tech Industrial Park, Haiban City. The park was brightly lit deep into the night. Inside the massive, steel-structured factory, hundreds of CNC machines formed an awe-inspiring industrial torrent. This place had become a heavily guarded steel beast. Sniper teams were stationed all around the perimeter. The interior was under strict, closed-off management. Move it! This batch must be loaded onto the trucks by 3 a.m. The logistics supervisor waved his dispatch board, shouting at the workers who were moving crates, disguised as agricultural machinery. Only the core personnel knew that every single one of these crates contained a Kunlun individual combat unit, enough to spark a military revolution. Inside the assembly workshop, 3 fully automated production lines were running at high speed. Titanium alloy plates danced under robotic arms, integrating with solid-state light electric cells, and microhydraulic servo motors in perfect assembly. Director Li, the latest yield report is out. On the second-floor corridor, a young secretary excitedly handed over a tablet. The yield rate for the mass-produced Kunlun Dark type has already increased to 98%. Current daily production can reach 50 sets. This is practically a miracle in industrial history. 50 sets. Li Mo glanced at the report. His expression remained grim. It's not enough. Orders from above say that within 3 days. I want to see 200 finished sets delivered to that location. This is a non-negotiable order. 200 sets in 3 days. The secretary gasped. That means we need to increase production capacity by another 30%. The machines are already running at overcapacity. Then add more water cooling. Add more lubricant. If the people can take it, the machines have to. Li Mo turned around sharply. This is a top priority, urgent order directly from the military commission. No one is allowed to drop the ball on me. Every single exoskeleton must be perfect, because they aren't just machines. They are a soldier's second life. Yes, sir. Li Mo looked back at the production line. A newly assembled black mecha was flexibly performing running and jumping maneuvers. Go! Go and make history. 3:30 a.m. 5 heavy trucks, escorted by armored vehicles, drove out of the park, heading straight for the abandoned underground parking lot in Haiban City. Inside Forward Base 01, the underground plaza glowed with a faint blue light. Supply crates were being delivered in a continuous stream. My God. Zhang Hu looked at the rows of silver-gray tactical mecha lined up before him. His jaw dropped. From Li Zhan's experimental model cobbled together from scraps, to these mass-produced models with matte black tactical coating and honeycomb flexible armor. This is a true industrial work of art. This one is yours. A logistics officer pushed an exoskeleton in front of him. Zhang Hu, serial number 01025, based on your physique and your strength data after the gene serum injection. This is a heavy assault type, specially customized for you. Heavy type? That's right. It sacrifices some flexibility, but reinforces the frontal armor and load-bearing capacity. The officer pointed to the thickened hydraulic rods. Its output is 1.5 times that of the standard model. It'll let you swing heavy cold weapons with ease, or operate a heavy machine gun single-handedly. Zhang Hu's hands trembled as he touched the cold metal surface. Put it on and try it out. Li Jian, wearing a commander-type exoskeleton, walked over. System startup. A faint current flowed through his body. Zhang Hu felt his body become light as power surged through his veins. How does it feel? Li Jian asked. I feel like I could take on 10 of them. Zhang Hu clenched his fist. The hydraulic assist compressed the air, letting out a sharp hiss. Don't worry, you'll get your chance. Li Jian patted him on the shoulder. There are 150 sets in this batch. You guys get priority. You recruits who've been injected with the gene serum. From this moment on, you are the heavy infantry company of Base 01. He turned to face the 100+ steel warriors. Remember, this gear was given to you by the organization. Once you put it on, you are no longer wanderers of the apocalypse. You are the defenders of civilization. Behind us are over 2,000 unarmed compatriots. This is Base 01. If we take one step back, they're as good as dead. Do you understand? Understood. Before the roar could fade, a piercing max-level air raid siren tore through the air above. Report. The radar operator's voice came through, panicked. Long-range anti-air. Search radar has detected a massive cluster of aerial targets. Bearing 030. Altitude 2,000. Quantity. The quantity is over 10,000. Repeat. The quantity exceeds 10,000. Li Jian looked up at the monitor. Tens of thousands of carrion wyverns blotted out the moon and stars like a black tsunami. My god. Is that a storm cloud? Is this the main course you were talking about? Li Jian pulled down his visor. A red light flashed. All units. Level 1 combat readiness. Heavy infantry company. Follow me to the surface. Let's knock those birdmen out of the sky. Underground command center. Dozens of LCD screens lit up. Report. Long-range early warning. Radar has detected a massive anomalous signal. Bearing 030. Distance, 250 kilometers. Altitude, 3,000 meters. Speed, approximately 200 kilometers per hour. Li Jian quickly pulled up the tactical map. Preliminary estimate of target count exceeds 10,000. The operator's voice wavered for a second. Confirmed as a swarm of 10,000 carrion wyverns. Li Jian's brow furrowed. Activate level 1 air defense response. Notify the HQ brigade to intercept. This isn't a battle. It's an industrialized pest extermination. The camouflage netting outside the base fell away. 4 HQ. 16F air defense missile vehicles raised their launchers. The fire control radar locked on instantly. Black cloud targets 200 kilometers away. Entering. Firing range. Distance, 70 kilometers. Fire all missiles. Copy that. First wave. 32 missiles launched. Dozens of missiles pierced the night sky. High explosive fragmentation warheads bloomed into spheres of death in the center of the black cloud 70 kilometers away. Tens of thousands of preformed fragments triggered a chain reaction. A rain of blood and flesh fell from the night sky. First wave of interception. Confirmed kills. Approximately 1,500 units. Second wave of missiles loaded. Launch. Third wave. Launch. 5 waves of missiles swept through the black cloud like a giant broom. The surviving wyverns broke through the interception net, closing in to within 10 kilometers of the base, only to be met with an even more desperate wall of fire. Targets entering the close-in weapon system zone. LD 3000 unlocked. Free to fire. The 11-barrel 30mm rotary cannons roared, sending a 3-kilometer-long crimson stream of fire tearing through the night sky. At a rate of 11,000 rounds per minute, they wove an absolute zone of death. The wyverns that slipped through didn't even have time to scream. They were instantly vaporized into a mist of blood. Close-in zone cleared. Confirmed. No surviving targets. The entire process took less than 10 minutes. 10,000 carrion wyverns completely wiped out. On the ground, Zhang Hu and the others looked at the fireworks show in the sky, stunned. That's it? It's over? He felt the chain greatsword in his hand. I thought I'd finally get to stretch my legs. This is modern warfare. Li Jian's tone was flat. No hand-to-hand combat. No hot-blooded heroics. Just data and cleanup. For these low-tier mutants, they aren't even qualified to see our faces. He turned his gaze toward the depths of the ruins. The real threat is still coming. Warning! The radar operator's voice suddenly trembled. High-energy target detected. Target is moving extremely fast. It's flying low to the ground, 5 kilometers from the base. Altitude less than 50 meters. On the large screen, a massive purple light point burst out from the shadows. It had been using low-altitude clutter and the falling corpses of the wyverns as cover. It didn't pull up until it was within 2 kilometers of the base. This is a premeditated ambush. LD 3000. Lock on. The fire stream swept out again. However, the 30mm high explosive armor-piercing rounds actually created ripples around the target. They were completely deflected by a thick, dark purple aura. An energy shield? Su-Wan cried out in shock. According to the research data from the Lighthouse Camp, this is a special ability only Tier 3 mutants possess. They can convert the energy in their essence cores into a biological field, forming physical protection. How strong is it? Extremely. At least equivalent to over 500 millimeters of composite armor. Under the searchlights, a single, giant wyvern king, over 15 meters long, revealed its true form. It tanked the LD 3000's fire, its eyes burning with the fury of tactical intelligence. Like a purple meteor, it slammed toward the base. It's draining the shield's energy, but at this speed, it can reach the base long before the shield is depleted. The tank's elevation isn't enough. We can't lock on. Lei Long roared over the channel. It's flying too high. Our main guns can't hit it. I watched the approaching light point, a cold light flashing in my eyes. Lei Long, don't panic. Li Zhan spoke calmly on the public channel. Since missiles can't hit it, and the cannons can't pierce it, he marked a predetermined interception zone. Prepare to initiate interception Plan B. Activate the electromagnetic gravity trap. All ground personnel, get to cover immediately. Heavy infantry company, prepare to engage. Li Zhan, get ready to work. Let him in. Li Zhan locked onto that purple afterimage. Since he wants to play at assassination, we'll play along to the end. If he wants to brawl, we'll give him exactly what he wants. Copy that. Heavy infantry company is in position. We'll be waiting for him in the base plaza. Li Zhan, remember, Su Wan. Analyze it. What's its weakness? The shield's energy comes from the essence core inside its body. If we can attack the core directly, or make its energy consumption exceed its replenishment rate, the shield will collapse instantly. In other words, we need stronger firepower, or a more precise strike. Theoretically, an armor-piercing shell from a 125mm tank gun should be able to pierce its shield, Su Wan said. But that's only if it's on the ground, or at a low enough altitude, for the tank to aim. Then let's bring it down. Li Zhan drew a red circle on the main screen. His gaze was sharp. Since he wants to play at assassination, we'll play along to the end. The reinforced ground of the base's central plaza shattered instantly. The massive purple Wyvern King descended. Violent gales scattered the supply crates everywhere. It threw back its head and let out a soul-shaking roar. Its purple pupils were filled with contempt and brutality, but the panicked flight it expected didn't happen. The plaza was deathly silent. Cold searchlight beams were locked dead onto it. Dozens of soldiers clad in Kunlun dark type exoskeletons slowly stepped out, holding heavy chain great swords and grappling hooks. Li Zhan, leading them, flexed his hydraulic neck joints. Welcome to hell. The Wyvern King seemed to understand the provocation. It hissed in rage. Its barb-covered tail swung like a mace, breaking the sound barrier as it swept through. Scatter. Li Zhan roared. The hydraulic pumps exploded into action, launching him to the right. The massive tail carved a half-meter deep trench into the reinforced concrete. Do it. Don't let it take flight. 4 special alloy steel cables shot out like vipers, snagging firmly into the gaps of the Wyvern King's wing bones. 2 more wrapped around its hind legs. The Wyvern King struggled frantically. Hold it down. Hold it the hell down. Jiang Hu roared. He pushed his exoskeleton's power to the max. His steel feet ground against the floor, throwing sparks. The other 3 soldiers also gripped the cables with all their might. The combined output of the 4 exceeded 5 tons. But against a Tier 3 Beast King, it still wasn't enough. The Wyvern King flapped its wings violently. Instantly, it yanked the 4 of them off the ground. Damn it. The strength gap is too big. This beast has at least dozens of tons of thrust. Jiang Hu grit his teeth while hanging in midair. Then let's give him a little something extra. Li Zhan started his chain great sword and used the jet assist to leap. Like a cannonball, he went straight for the Wyvern King's soft underbelly, where there were no scales. The Wyvern King opened its maw. A purple light glowed deep in its throat. Careful. It's going to spit acid. Su Wan screamed over the comms. It was too late. Li Zhan crossed his arms to protect himself and tanked it. Thick purple acid instantly engulfed him. Sizzle. White smoke billowed from his armor. Alarms blared frantically. Warning. Armor integrity dropped to 60%. Warning. External sensors offline. Captain. Jiang Hu's eyes went wide with rage. He let go with one hand, bit the pin off a high-explosive grenade, and hurled it at the Wyvern King's head. Eat shit. The grenade exploded right in front of the Wyvern King's eyes. The blinding light and shockwave left it momentarily stunned. Its acid breath was interrupted. Li Zhan slammed heavily onto the ground. Relying on his pitted and scarred exoskeleton, he stubbornly stood back up. I'm fine. He's pissed off now. Here's our chance. The Wyvern King went completely berserk. It folded its wings and charged like a heavy tank, intending to trample these insects into meat paste. The earth trembled, but not a single person retreated, because the true king was about to make its entrance. From the shadows of the side hangar came the heavy sound of a shell being chambered. The rumble of tank treads echoed. The instinct of a Tier 3 creature made the Wyvern King skid to a halt. A cold, heavy steel beast emerged from the shadows. A Type 99 main battle tank. Its 125mm high-pressure smoothbore gun, at a distance of less than 50 meters, was pointed dead at the Wyvern King's head. I heard your shield was tough. I spoke coldly into the comms channel. I heard your shield is pretty tough. I spoke coldly into the comms channel. Armor-piercing shell. Loaded. The Wyvern King felt the cold grip of death. It frantically mobilized its energy. The purple shield doubled in thickness. Fire. The muzzle blast blew away the debris at 1,700 meters per second. The muzzle velocity of the APF SDS round shot out from the barrel. In the face of absolute kinetic energy, the purple shield, claimed to withstand 30mm autocannons, was shredded like tissue paper. The shell tore through the Wyvern King's chest, blasting right through Jin He's position, leaving a massive, gaping hole from front to back. Blood and organs sprayed across the ground. The residual kinetic energy carved a deep crater behind it. The Wyvern King's movements froze. The purple light dimmed. The massive corpse crashed to the ground. Good lord. Is this the justice of high caliber? Jiang Hu, suspended in midair, swallowed hard. Su Wan let out a long, shaky breath. I stood up in the command center. This is the prototype we were looking for. Notify the recovery team to dig out Jin He. That's our ticket to level 3. Furthermore, add 2 extra chicken drumsticks to the heavy armored company's supper tonight. The smoke finally cleared. Su Wan, dressed in a white hazmat suit, used a high-frequency laser cutter to reach into the charred flesh and carefully extract a deep purple crystal. It looked as if a galaxy was sealed within it. Energy pulses cause the air to warp slightly. The radiation is high, but the energy is incredibly pure. Its energy density is at least 10 times that of a Tier 2 core. If we can decode its structure, our research on solid-state hydrogen batteries will make a massive leap forward. I walked over and took the container from her. Good work. But its primary purpose isn't for batteries. It's a key. Let's go. Let's see what kind of door this key can open. The underground light gate hall. I took out that deep purple Tier 3 essence core. The portal sensed the energy. The blue vortex spun violently, emitting a low hum. High-tier energy core detected. Tier 3. Base energy reserves are sufficient. Upgrade requirements met. Upgrade now? Yes. The core turned into purple light and fell into the center of the vortex. An invisible wave spread out. The portal rapidly expanded to 10 meters wide, enough for main battle tanks to pass through side by side. Regal purple streaks mixed into the blue. Unknown fluorescent runes appeared on the frame. Two-way portal system LV3. Size 10x10m. Cooldown 10 days. Maintain always open state. Consumption reduced by 50%. New function: dimensional storage. Unlocked 1,000 cubic meters of subspace warehouse. Absolute safety. Time stasis. Subportal can be opened at a designated location in the other world. A subdoor connects directly to the main door, enabling instantaneous material transfer. Environmental purification field. Centered on the portal, within a 5-kilometer radius, automatically purifies viruses and radiation in the air. Suppresses the activity of low-tier zombies. Dimensional storage is finally here. I tried putting the lead container in and out. The process took less than a second. A portable arsenal that can hold dozens of tanks at any time. Completely solves my logistics nightmare. But that's nothing compared to the strategic value of the second feature, the subportal. With this, I could open a portal right in the face of a resource point. Linhan, look at this. Suwon stared at the detector and gasped. The radiation levels around the portal are dropping rapidly, and the virus concentration in the air is decreasing too. This door. It's purifying the environment. It's called an environmental purification field. From today on, the 5-kilometer radius around Base 01 will be the only sanctuary in this wasteland. We can consider taking off our hazmat suits. I smiled slightly. This is hundreds of times more efficient than the best air purification towers on Earth. If the range could expand, the possibilities are endless. That day will come. I interrupted him. I looked at the soldiers behind me with a determined gaze. Passed down the order. Expand the underground garage immediately. We need to make room for more big guys, since the gate has grown larger. Then the heavy engineering machinery from Earth's side, and even greater weapons of war, can now enter the field. Second, have the staff office redraw the battle plans. Our next objective is no longer just a simple sweep of the perimeter. I tapped the red area in the northwest corner of the map. This is Redstone Canyon. According to the records from Lighthouse Camp, this place contains rich, rare earth veins and a high-energy associated mineral called red stone. News came from Professor Chen Guofeng's side. Earth's reverse engineering of solid-state hydrogen. Batteries has hit a bottleneck. We can build the batteries, but we can't solve the stability issues under high-energy states, which makes miniaturization impossible. But this red stone is a perfect natural stabilizer, only by getting our hands on it. Can we truly mass-produce military-grade high-energy batteries and give the Kunlun exoskeleton a real heart? My finger pointed toward the city center. And here is Tianqiong Tower, once the tallest building in Haishan City. It houses the most complete pre-war technology, data and supercomputing centers. Su Wan looked thoughtful. These two locations are of immense strategic value, but the cost is too high, pushing through with our current forces. That was before. I smirked confidently. But now that we have the subportal, distance is no longer an issue. We're going to plant a flag in Redstone Canyon and turn that mining area into our backyard. Haibin City, Xingfu, Jiayuan Community, Basement Level 3, Base 0. This was the first forward base established after the government took over the Light Gate. After 3 months of emergency expansion, it has become a massive underground fortress, directly connected to the military depot by heavy rail. Ripples appeared on the giant light gate in the core area. Su Wan stepped out. She wore a deep blue gown. Only her brow betrayed a lingering exhaustion. Welcome to Earth, Dr. Su. I leaned against the metal console, tossing my car keys and greeting her with a smile. Su Wan inhaled the air greedily. At Base 01 in the other world, no matter how thick the protective walls were, outside was always radioactive dust and the stench of rotting corpses. It was so suffocating you didn't dare breathe deeply. But here, even the dust in the basement smelled sweet. All vitals are normal. The virus detection light turned green. Thanks to the purification of the level 3 light gate, the tedious decontamination process was skipped. Go to the locker room and change first, since you're on vacation. Don't dress so formally. A few minutes later, Su-won changed into a white sweater and light blue jeans. This was the first time in 12 years she had taken off her combat suit. The elevator went up. The numbers jumped from 3 to 1. I noticed her nervously clutching the hem of her clothes. The doors opened. No alarms, no roaring. What flooded her ears was the vibrant bustle of life. Old man Wang, don't let your dog run wild. Mom, what's for dinner tonight? I want braised pork. Pushing open the building door, the midday sun poured down. The brightness made Su-won squint. In the small plaza, children were chasing each other. Old men were playing chess. A golden retriever basked lazily in the sun. In the distance, skyscrapers stood tall, and traffic flowed like water. This ordinary winter afternoon scene was paradise in Su-won's eyes. Tears welled up and fell without warning. Back there, plants eat people. Life is a scream of agony. But here, life is free. That's the sun. She reached out her hand. The warmth leaking through her fingers melted the ice that had built up in her blood for 12 years. Yeah, the sun. I stood beside her and said softly, no need to worry about radiation. No need to worry about acid rain. And no need to worry about mutants jumping out at you. Here, you can sleep under the sun until you wake up naturally. Thank you, she choked up, her voice trembling. If I hadn't come here, I would have almost forgotten the world was supposed to look like this. I handed her a tissue and stayed by her side quietly. This is the sanctuary for our souls. After a long while, Su-won stopped crying. We sat side by side on a bench. A young couple nearby was loudly scrolling through their phones. Holy crap. Did you see the news? Huawei and BYD just released Kunlun technology. New phone batteries last a week. Electric cars can go 2,000 kilometers. No wonder oil stocks are tanking. Hey, should we go grab one? Su-won froze. She turned to look at me. That's the light version of the solid-state hydrogen battery technology that we brought back. I lowered my voice and smiled. Even a byproduct technology is enough to leapfrog Earth's tech by a massive step. Is this the meaning of peace? She murmured. Yes, we bring back the nightmares from that side and transform them into miracles on this side, using the resources of that world to protect the simple joys of this one. Su-won was silent for a long time. Suddenly, she gave her most relaxed smile in 12 years. Lin Han, take me for a walk. I want some milk tea. Full sugar, with ice. I chuckled. I made a this-way gesture. One full sugar, iced milk tea, coming right up. I handed her the cold cup. Su-won took a satisfying sip, feeling the sweetness explode in her mouth. So sweet. Over there, sugar is a controlled substance, and there's never any ice. She looked at the swirling ice cubes in the cup, her gaze a bit dazed. You know, at Lighthouse Base, we don't even have an ice machine. Even in the hottest summer, we can only drink lukewarm water. We walked to the outdoor seating in the commercial area. She stared at the elderly people pushing strollers, her eyes tender yet sorrowful. Children, she said softly. You rarely see babies over there anymore. At Lighthouse Base, if a pregnant woman is found, everyone gives up their best resources, because every new life is hope. But even so, only 3 children have been born at the base in 12 years. 2 of them died before they were even a month old. I remained silent. This kind of pain cannot be eased by words. Come on. Let's go to the mall. Half an hour later, at Haiban City's largest shopping center, Su-won froze like a statue. Mountains of bright, fresh produce on the shelves, neatly arranged fresh meat in the coolers, and even live fish swimming. Is this all real? She picked up an apple and sniffed it. It had a fresh, crisp scent. Over there, uncontaminated fruit like this is only for the high-ranking officials. But here, they're just piled up randomly by the aisle. Seeing a clerk throw slightly bruised strawberries into the trash, Su-won's fists clenched tight. Her breathing became heavy. It's too extravagant. They have no idea how precious these things are. If it were over there, 10 people might die for just these few strawberries. She couldn't bear to look anymore and turned toward the daily necessities section. Dozens of brands of shampoo, fragrant body washes, reminded her of the soap at Lighthouse Base made from animal fat and wood ash. Can you really eat all of this? She asked, pointing at the dazzling array of snacks. Of course. Why do you ask? Over there, all food must go through at least 3 rounds of virus and radiation testing before it can be eaten. We went to the 5th floor food court. The rich aroma of grilled meat and hot pot hit us, watching young people scroll through their phones, while complaining the meat was too fatty. A flash of pain crossed Su-won's eyes. Too extravagant. Over there, being able to eat your fill is the greatest happiness. That's why. I looked into her eyes and spoke seriously. We have to bring back the nightmares from that side and transform them into miracles on this side, using the resources of that world to protect the simple joys of this one. Dr. Su, this is the value of our work. Su-won was silent for a long time. The urge to protect all of this surged wildly in her heart. Lin Han. She suddenly looked up, her gaze as firm as iron. I'm done playing. Take me to Redstone Canyon. So soon? I was a bit surprised. Didn't we agree on a day of relaxation? I've relaxed enough. She looked past the window at the lights of thousands of homes, then turned back to stare at me with burning eyes. More than shopping, I want to see those red stones being brought into the lab right now. Only those things can protect the lights here and light up the darkness over there. I stopped joking, straightened my collar, and reached out to her. As you wish, Madam Chief Scientist. 2. completely solve the stability issue of high-energy batteries. I must establish a resource point in the other world's Redstone Canyon. The first step is to establish a spatial anchor point in Special Warehouse Number 3 on the Earth side. This is point A of the subportal. I patted the cold wall. Coordinates recorded. Good. Preparations on this side are complete. The next task is to go to the other world and open the other end of this door. Li Jian habitually checked his gear. The helicopter squadron is ready. According to the plan, we will take off from Base 01, break through 128 kilometers of airspace, and strike directly into Redstone Canyon. Then let's head out. I stepped through the light gate. On the other world's helipad, 3Z-20S and 2Z-10S were tearing through the silence of the wasteland. Mount up. I led the elite squad and took off smoothly. Su-won stood on the ground, her expression full of worry. Dr. Su, wait here for my word. Once the subportal is open, you can come straight through. It's safe and fast. Target, Redstone Canyon. Altitude 1,500. Maintain radio silence. Move out. The 5 aircraft struck north. Below, the shadows of clouds passed over the silhouettes of carrion wyverns. The atmosphere in the cabin was grim. Heads up, there's a wyvern pack in the clouds below. The pilot, Chen Sheng, warned. Don't worry. Li Jian leaned back in his seat. Not only do we have anti-radar coating, but we've also sprayed the beast repellent developed by Dr. Su. As long as we don't provoke them, they won't notice us. 40 minutes later, the Crimson Earth, looking like congealed blood, appeared in our sights. Target area spotted. Signs of large biological activity below, suggesting a fire-clearing sweep first. Approved. I looked at the shadows lurking below and gave the order. The Z-10's rockets instantly saturated the ground. Amidst the wails of the rock-armored giant lizards, we rappelled down. I walked quickly toward a perfect cliff face. System. Set anchor point B. A faint blue light gate suddenly flickered to life on the wasteland. Behind it was Earth. The bright warehouse passage was successfully established. I wiped away some sweat. Li Jian, let the big guys through. Rumble. The tracks of the main battle tanks crushed the red stones. In less than 5 minutes, the tank formation was in position. The dark muzzles locked onto the depths. From the dust, several massive rock-armored giant lizards roared as they charged, trying to defend their territory. Looks like the locals aren't too welcoming. I sneered and retreated behind the armor. All units, fire at will. The 125mm smoothbore cannons showed absolute dominance. The lead lizards were instantly blown into meat paste. The remaining ones were torn to shreds in the metal fire net of the 30mm autocannons. Area secured. Dr. Su, you can come through now. Su-won stepped through the light gate into Redstone Canyon. Seeing the off-the-charts mineral readings, her breathing quickened. My God. The purity is even higher than I imagined. With this energy density, even if we don't use it for batteries, it's enough to be used directly as high-energy explosive. With this, it's not just batteries. We can even try to replicate the energy shield technology. From over there, we must build a sealed lab here as soon as possible. The black rain and radiation won't wait for us. Then let's get to work. I pointed at the engineering vehicles pouring out behind us. This will be our new launch pad. After returning to base, a holographic map outlining Haishan City's death red zone was laid out in the command center. According to Lighthouse Camp's data, Tianqiong Tower was the tech hub of Haishan City before the cataclysm. Su-won pointed at the isolated island surrounded by the zombie tide. Basement level 3 is the supercomputing center. There are 80 floors above ground. Floors 50 and 60 are biological labs. Floors 70 and 80 are the Energy Research Institute. Most importantly, the building has an independent power system, a nuclear fusion power plant. Theoretically, it can still maintain basic operations. But the problem is, how do we get in? Nuclear fusion? Li Jian's expression was grave. Dr. Su. Are you sure? That's controllable nuclear fusion. Su-won nodded in confirmation. If we can get the technical data for that equipment, then, Earth's side. Then we definitely have to get it, I said in a low voice. Facing a defensive line of millions of zombies, a conventional push is no different from suicide. We can't take it by force. Heavy armored battalion commander. Li Jian pointed at the industrial zone outside the base. We need to use a more direct method. And then? I pressed. And then? A cold, iron-blooded smirk appeared on Li Jian's face. Request to deploy bombers from the airfield. Drop incendiary bombs and burn the entire city center to ash. Burn it all down. Use napalm. White phosphorus. Turn the entire death red zone into a sea of fire. But Tianqiong Tower, Su-won's brow furrowed. The building is a reinforced concrete structure, and it has an independent power system. Theoretically, it can withstand high temperatures. Besides, we don't need to burn the whole city. We just need to clear enough safe passages, and then send ground troops into the building. What about the flying mutant beasts? That's why we need to establish an anti-air perimeter. Li Jian's finger moved across the map. This operation isn't a small-scale raid. It's a full-scale military operation. We're going to establish the first true military base in the other world. How long will that take? Su-won asked. Wang Gong, you tell her. Director Zhao spoke up. According to drone reconnaissance, that industrial zone is about 2 square kilometers. If we deploy 2 engineering battalions with heavy machinery, it's estimated to take 3 days to clear and level the runway. But that's the ideal scenario. If we encounter large-scale zombie interference, it might take longer. Then strengthen the defenses. Director Zhao looked at the heavy armored battalion commander. Li Jian, Your heavy armored battalion is responsible for the perimeter. Ensure construction safety at all costs. Understood. And the total operation cycle? Su Wan asked. 5 days. Wang Gong calculated quickly. 5 days. Li Jian took a deep breath. Operation approved. For nuclear fusion technology, this risk is worth taking. Operation code, Blazing Flame. Approved for execution. Director Zhao made the final call. 3 days later, the once desolate industrial zone had been transformed into a steel runway. Through the level 3 light gate, batches of disassembled aircraft parts were sent and quickly assembled. Inside the hangar, 6 H-6 bombers loaded with hull packages bared their fangs. Reporting to commander. Airfield construction complete. Fleet assembly finished. Ready for takeoff at any time. Very good. Li Jian stood in the control tower. Everything is ready. Requesting approval for the bombing mission. Approved. Director Zhao gave the final order. Notify the pilots to board. Copy that. The roar of massive engines echoed across the wasteland. This is Thunder Flight. Ready for takeoff. Cleared for takeoff. 6 bombers and 8 J-16S roared into the sky, heading straight for Haishan City. Target, confirmed. Haishan City Center, Death Red Zone. Intercepted by flying wyverns midair. Attention. Flying targets spotted ahead. Quantity, approximately 30. Identified as carrion wyverns. They are closing in on us. Copy. Escort fleet prepared to intercept. Don't let them get near the bombers. Li Jian responded coldly. Understood. Target locked. Ready to fire. PL-15 missiles. Woven net of death beyond visual range. 2 minutes later, the threat vanished into thin air. Threat cleared. Continue escort. Excellent. We've entered the target airspace. Commence bombing. Copy. Bombs away. Preparing to drop. Hundreds of napalm bombs fell like rain into the city. Amidst the thunderous roars, the Death Red Zone turned into molten lava. A blazing sea of fire and black smoke swallowed the sky. Report. First round of bombing complete. Target area temperature has risen to 800 degrees Celsius. Continue. Li Jian spoke coldly. Burn every last zombie to ash. The bombing runs continued for a full day until dusk. The demon's den that once held millions of zombies was now scorched earth. Reporting to commander. Target area cleared. Estimated zombie survival rate is below 1%. Very good, Director Zhao said, staring at the screen. Li Jian, ground troops can move in. The next day, the armored convoy drove through the ruins, which still radiated heat. They arrived at Tianqiong Tower. 4 teams quickly fanned out. Li Jian led his men up the service elevator straight to the 80th floor. This was the heart of the Energy Research Institute. Found it. Li Jian pushed open the lab doors. The energy shield, generator, and carbon-based chips were lying quietly inside the safe. Scan the data. Quickly. Open them up. The cutters sliced through the final barrier. Supercomputing center data has been fully copied. Biological lab samples have been collected. Energy Institute equipment blueprints have been scanned. Nuclear fusion power plant core data has been downloaded. Li Jian looked at the heavy chips and blueprints in his hand, feeling a deep sense of humanity's power returning. Mission accomplished. Prepare to evacuate. Commander, the AWACS radar has detected a massive flying target signature 150 kilometers away. It's approaching at high speed. Just as the convoy drove out of the ruins, the comms channel exploded, with a panicked warning from air traffic control. Report target characteristics, Li Jian ordered calmly. The radar screen is completely red. It's not a wyvern pack. The echoes are getting denser and more frantic. It's the corpse vultures. There are at least 100,000 of them. The number 100,000 made the air in the cabin freeze. The expert's face turned deathly pale. Those are highly venomous scavengers. Once they catch the scent of blood, they'll hunt like mad dogs until they're dead. How much ammo does the J-16 squadron have left? Li Jian asked. Ammunition is exhausted. The convoy is 12 kilometers away, 15 minutes at full speed. Estimated contact in 8 minutes. A 7-minute gap is a death sentence. It doesn't matter if we're out of missiles. Li Jian's gaze was sharp and fierce. J-16 squadron, execute shepherd tactics. They are beasts, not an army, Li Jian said coldly. Since they're beasts, they'll be afraid of thunder. At 10,000 meters high, 8 fighter jets suddenly dove. All units engage afterburners. Go supersonic. A terrifying sonic boom slammed down like a bolt from the heavens. The supersonic shockwave shattered the internal organs of the lead vultures. The charge formation of the 100,000-strong swarm collapsed instantly. Nicely done. The Ground Air Defense Battalion commander pumped his fist, but this can only delay them. After a brief moment of chaos, their bloodlust drove them to lock onto the convoy again. Convoy, full speed ahead. Forget the formation. Li Jian gripped the handrail tightly. Target distance, 100 kilometers. Entering the optimal engagement zone for the HQ, 16F. First volley, fire. 24 missiles detonated in the center of the black cloud. Hundreds, thousands of vultures fell, but tens of thousands of survivors were still relentless. Distance, 15 kilometers. Entering the effective range of the LD, 3000. Open fire. Provide fire cover for the convoy. 4 pillars of fire, kilometers long, wove an absolute web of death. A rate of fire of 11,000 rounds per minute shredded the black tide trying to swallow the convoy into nothingness. Stray vulture corpses slammed into the roof of the command vehicle, sounding like a barrage of heavy hail. The twin 35mm AA guns on both sides of the runway immediately fired at their maximum rate, building a final, impassable bridge of steel, at the cost of nearly 30,000 corpses. The swarm finally broke. The convoy burst through the airport gates. Li Jun pushed the door open and stepped out, stepping onto a thick layer of black-red meat paste. Calling control tower. Fuel is critical. Requesting landing. Permission granted. I watched the 8 jets land, and said to the stunned Su Wan beside me, "This is the steel storm you wanted. In the face of absolute fire density. Numbers mean nothing. I understand." Su Wan nodded. Before, we only thought about how to block them. But now I know how to win. Let's go. Now that we have this data, the next batch won't just be anti-aircraft guns. 2 days later, in the real world. This is the blueprint for the nuclear fusion prototype. Elder Wang's hands trembled with excitement. The blue light from the screen reflected off his glasses. Not just blueprints, but complete experimental data, and the formula for the core materials. I pointed at the data stream. With these, we can definitely, within 3 months, build the first operational miniature nuclear fusion reactor. 3 months? Elder Wang took off his glasses and wiped away tears. If we followed our original pace, it would have taken at least another 30 years. Comrade Lin Han, you've brought back a future for our country. This means we will be completely free from the shackles of energy. It means our industrial production capacity will see explosive growth. It means in the international arena, we will hold the ultimate trump card. You're overstating it, Elder Wang. This is just the beginning. Next, we have carbon-based chips and the CityLink system. These technologies will completely revolutionize our industrial system. The state has already established the Project Gravel Task Force. I will personally lead it, gathering the top experts from across the country to go all out on these technologies. Whether it's people, money, or equipment, just say the word, and the state will give its full support. Right now, the most urgent need is redstone, I said thoughtfully. The upgrade of solid-state hydrogen battery technology, and the potential development of high-energy weapons all depend on this high-energy stabilizer. Although we've cleared the path to Redstone Canyon, the mining volume still can't keep up. Don't worry about that, Elder Wang said with confidence. The engineering corps has already moved in. The higher-ups have issued a strict order. Even if we have to hollow out that mountain, we will ensure the supply of raw materials. I nodded and looked out the window. The industrial park had transformed into a massive construction site. The nation's war machine was running at full speed for the final offensive. In the other world,